Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today, before I even got in chat, I'm seeing 8 messages, which is great to see. I hope you guys are all doing very good. I hope you're having a good week, having a good day, looking forward to the weekend. Of course, once again, a busy weekend of football. So get in chat, let me know, can you hear me alright? Am I coming through okay? Let me know what your plans are for the weekend. Are you going to any matches? What you're looking forward to this weekend? Let me know all of that in chat below. We've got several different things to go through. We need to get through the tactics board and talk about United in general, but also United against Spurs. We need to talk about some certain tactical things, and we will be going through this live on stream for the first time, this sort of stuff. We will also be looking at some heat maps and then previewing or kind of briefly talking about a few different games. So that is the plan for today. If we have time at the end, we might do a little bit of a discussion on FPL, but it's probably a little bit unlikely this week. But with all that being said, how is everybody? Is everybody in good spirits? Is everybody having a good week? Like I said, let me know, is anyone going to the Spurs game tomorrow? If so, are you looking forward to it? Are you watching the game from home, watching it in a local pub? Where are you watching the game? And what are your thoughts going into it? This is also the first time we've spoken since that Wolves game last weekend, which was somewhat interesting. So let me know what you thought of that game as well, that performance, kind of the reaction, if you like, from the world, the media, the fans since that game. Good to see you, Codename mate. I hope you're good. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on everything. United versus Wolves last week. United versus Spurs this week. Casemiro, Ten Hag, Jadon Sancho, Garnacho, Ryan Gravenberch rumours, Amadou Onana rumours. Let me know a little bit about everything. Of course, we've also got transfers as well. Someone like Harry Maguire. That transfer doesn't seem to be going through. Dean Henderson, it now looks like he's staying at the club. Facundo Pellistri might be leaving on some sort of loan I have just seen. There's loads of stuff to talk about. Codename saying not the best given Maguire still in the team, holding Man United ransom. Messy situation. Not too sure what's gone on there. It's not ideal. Hi AJ. Hi, hope you're good, mate. Not gonna lie, these owners will be the death of me. You and me both, my friend. Absolute mess. The latest news is that maybe people are getting the idea that the club will not be sold this summer, which, if true, is genuinely devastating news for the club. Devastating news. Have some thoughts on Casemiro. I also have some thoughts on Casemiro. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Afternoon, Jerry, mate. I hope you're good. Casemiro's future at United, definitely something we need to discuss. Obviously got him in the team at the moment. He's without doubt starting 6. But yeah, we need to talk about it. Gravenberch would only be on a loan move, in my opinion. Quite possibly. Is that a loan move that you would like? There's been talks of it in the past 2 or 3 days. I've been considering doing a video on it, but I'm not too sure if I should. 7 PM from Indonesia. Good to see you, mate. Hope you have a good day and enjoying your evening so far. Lightning Game is asking which reaction has been worse, the reaction to the last game or after the Brentford game last year? Good question. Probably the Brentford game last year, just because that was such a humiliating defeat. But it's been a weird reaction considering we beat Wolves. I've seen Mason Mount. I saw a question the other day, like, does Mason Mount need more time? It's the dumbest question I've ever seen. He's played 70 minutes of competitive football in the last 6 months. Of course he needs more time. Daft question. Codename 8 PM from Malaysia. Hope you had a good day, my friend. We have Pavard, Gravenberch and Amrabat waiting to join. Then Bailly and Maguire decide not to let United be good. Yep. 5 AM from Prescott, Arizona. As always, people all around the world. We do love to see that. AJ, what do you think of Mount? What is his long-term role / position at United, given the games we have seen? Definitely something I want to cover in this stream. That is one of the tactical tweaks I want to make. I've seen people, for example, not even including Mason Mount in their starting 11 this weekend. I absolutely would, and I'm going to show you how I would use him a little bit later on. The whole Mount thing is quite pathetic. Yeah, such an over... He didn't even play badly. I actually thought he was the best of the midfield 3, which is even weirder. We might need a loss to force the board to take action and buy a new DM, like last year. The problem with that is panic buying can obviously be dangerous. Pavard, Todibo, Amrabat, Gravenberch, all is coming. I doubt it's all 4 of them, maybe 2 of them. Sidebar, the Fantasy Premier League is buzz. It really is. If you haven't got yourself involved, put that code into FPL and you will enter our mini league. I've had a bit of a stinker first weekend, but get yourself involved. There's loads of top prizes, like the Football Shirt Club, offering a mystery box to the winner. So definitely get involved in that. Good day, AJ, my friend. I hope you're well, mate, from DJ Nature. Are you optimistic United will sign a midfielder before the window closes? I still think we will probably see Amrabat come in. I do think we will. I think that both Mount and Fernandes should have signed for overlapping and underlapping, like how Henderson or Kevin De Bruyne would work, but both of them very ball watching and lack of off-ball movement. Yeah, that was a particular problem last week, a lack of movement from these forward midfielders, which is weird because it's not actually a problem I associate with them. Chat, Ian saying, chat, let's run the likes up. Absolutely, I 100% agree. I also do just want to apologise before we get into this. United's big game this weekend is Spurs, of course. My big match at the moment is hay fever. And I tell you right now, I'm losing the hay fever battle. So if I randomly disappear to quickly sneeze or something, that's what's going on. My eyes are watering, but we're going to try and get through it because I promised you guys a stream. So a stream I will bring. Casemiro is being used differently as to how he was used last season. Not only is he being used a little bit differently, but also the fullbacks are being used differently as well, which obviously has a knock-on effect. If Amrabat isn't signed, then the entire team, it must be sacked. It's a good point. Amrabat, the ideal playmaker beside Casemiro. Would I rather Amrabat or Gravenberch? I would go with Amrabat. I think he's more suited. That kind of high-volume, deeper player, but also his defensive ability off the ball would be handy. What are our thoughts as well also on Amadou Onana, potentially? Speaking of a sneeze, I think we might have one coming. Finally, someone pronounces your name right. Ian, is that right? AJ trailing 2-0 to hay fever. It's much worse than 2-0. This is an 8-0 deficit. Appreciate the stream, AJ. Glad you're enjoying it, mate. Plenty to talk about today. Can I discuss how I would see Gravenberch playstyle? If enough people want it, we will discuss it towards end of stream. FP saying Amrabat could play as the lone six, very much positionally aware like Edson Alvarez. He's also much better on the ball than what Alvarez was as well. If people want some more Amrabat talk, we can talk about it. I will just quickly put him in the list. Anfield flashback. It's worse than an Anfield flashback today. My eyes are streaming. Casemiro is far too slow, AJ, to play this high line for Ten Hag. Okay, so let's address that. We all saw the game last weekend, I assume, or have seen parts of the game, or have seen my video covering it. We've all followed the game in some way. We've seen the fallout from the game, some of the backlash from the game. There's a lot to talk about. It could be it might already be 9-0. Don't write me off. Second half comeback. I think there's changes that United need to make. I think everyone would agree, right? Now, I'm not talking about completely undoing all the work that Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag have done in the past 12 months. That would just be daft. Someone asking, what's wrong with my eyes, mate? Hay fever. Simple as. What were we saying? Yes, changes. Manchester United need to make some tweaks, all right? It's in the title of the stream. United need to make some small, subtle changes to make sure that moving forward, they are better than what they were against Wolves last week. And like I said, I think these are quite minute changes. I think one of the changes we can see is at the back, building with things like goal kicks. I just think there's little tweaks you can make to the structure, which United are using currently. Move players about slightly, which could give United a big boost. I think a lot of people have reacted to last week's game and kind of gone, we're terrible. We're miles off the top teams. But I don't think it's the case. What I have always said on this channel, and it's kind of my go-to quote, is in the world of football, it's never as good as it looks, but it's also never as bad as it looks. So in football, it's never quite as good as what you think it is. You might win 4-0, but you're probably not that much better than the opposition. At the same time, if you have a bad performance, you're still not that far off. The fine margins are so small at the top level of the game, and that is where United are operating at. So United only need small tweaks. We don't need a complete restructure of the team. So, goal kicks, that's where we'll start. Currently, as I said in my video this morning, I believe in the Spurs preview, did that go out this morning? It did, right? I can't remember. Something I was talking about was that United currently are using this sort of build-up structure from the goal kick. Now, this was a structure which worked to a large extent in pre-season. But even in pre-season, you will remember, and even in my United tactics video for this season, my concern was that over time, it has a real lack of width to it. For example, we can see Luke Shaw here. There's no one in his left side position. There's no one over here. So that makes it quite difficult for United to play out from the back, because when you're in possession, notoriously, you want to make the pitch as big as possible. United aren't doing that on goal kicks, which is a little bit weird, and it makes it a little bit easier for the opposition to press. Whether that be in a 4-4-2, a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3, if you're making the pitch narrower, it's easier to press you. So, Ashton, is that Ashton I know? Hi Ashton, I hope you're good, mate, saying I found you. Took your time. So, goal kick structure. What I think United need to do is Luke Shaw doesn't need to be here. I don't see what he brings to it, right? So, for example, United at times would be impressed in a 4-4-2, which looked a little bit like this. And what Wolves could do was put these three players central, and because United are so central and so condensed, it was quite easy to apply pressure. What United need to do is just kick Luke Shaw out of there. In my opinion, he doesn't need to be there. If you put Luke Shaw in this empty position over here, the winger physically has to follow him, right? He can't still be over here, because when you've got someone like Onana in goal, he will just play the ball over the top to Shaw. Really easily, you're out from the press. So the opposition can't let that happen, which means that this winger does have to tuck in and play a little bit deeper. So, this now means that instantly United have a slight advantage in this area, because Luke Shaw isn't dropping deep, so he isn't drawing the extra man in. Now this is where, as a manager, you have to discuss the balance. You have to figure out, you need players short, of course, to be a passing option, but when you bring players short, you also bring the opposition short with you. That's what Ten Hag needs to get the balance with. Push Luke Shaw out of the way, let Onana do this business here. This is quite similar to what Manchester City do from goal kicks, with Ederson and often Ruben Dias. Now, it still works for Rafael Varane, because the play is in front of him. He doesn't need to be press resistant, he doesn't need to receive the ball on the turn. It's pretty simple, everything's in front of you, just play the ball forward, so that is fine. We also know that Onana is more than capable in these areas. And now, because Shaw's further forward, rather than having to play through 3 players, you're only playing through 2. It gives United a big advantage, because 4 versus 2 in these areas, with technical footballers, you should be able to play your way out from the back. Now, at the moment, United do have one slight problem, and it's a problem which will eventually go. Jadon Sancho or Marcus Rashford up front at the moment, they aren't the sort of physical outlet where you can go long to them, right? So what the opposition are doing, we saw it against Wolves, for example, they are a bit more confident and a bit more aggressive than what I thought they were going to be. So they push this extra player forward here, and they're happy to connect this extra man to the press, making it more difficult for United. Now, this will change when Rasmus Højlund is in the side, because teams will be too scared, they will play over back 4. But at the moment, teams might be a little bit more aggressive. Therefore, United need to find a way to play out from the back. Like I said, one way is to push Shaw wider. The other way is the use of bounce passes. We talk a lot in football about vertical passes, playing through the lines, moving the ball forward. And that for me is one of the most important passes in football. Genuinely believe that. However, what is also important is the bounce pass or the set pass you play after it. Because it's one thing playing vertically into Casemiro here, but it's about where he goes from there. One thing United don't really make use of is just setting the ball off a little bit. Just setting the ball backwards. United don't do it well enough. If you watch Rodri for Manchester City, for example, constantly in these positions, he drops in and he'll bounce it off to someone. So the goalkeeper, for example, can withdraw the pressure like this, kind of drawing the pressure in. The opposition are going to press nice and high. If you go to Casemiro and he tries to turn here, he's going to lose the ball. But if you just use a bounce pass, it lets you get out of the press a lot easier. And I just think that's something which United need to do much more. I think United need to do a lot more of that. Weghorst, for example, Corey's saying it there. As bad as he was, Weghorst was good at the bounce pass. Very true. United need more players that are going to do that. So this is one of the tricks that I would do if I was Erik Ten Hag. It's a really simple structural change, but I think it could allow United to play out from the back a little bit more. Let me know what you think in chat though, because I need to have a quick drink. So let me know what you think. Do you think this little change would help United to play the ball up from the back? Like I said, when we add Rasmus Højlund into the side, if I get him here real quick, 1 second. Let's put Rasmus Højlund in the team. When you put Rasmus Højlund up front, teams won't be as aggressive because you can't go man for man with Rasmus Højlund because he's too good, basically. He's too dangerous. So I think this would be an effective way for United to improve their play out from the back. Change the structure, but also use the bounce pass a little bit more. Get in chat, let me know your thoughts, and then I will read through some of them. So I'm seeing some really relevant points in here already. So So Ian saying we are accustomed to seeing Mount in a Chelsea shirt, and I think he is also getting accustomed to playing in United's red. It's a mental block at the moment. Hopefully he does so quickly. I say this quite a lot as well. Bruno Fernandes has broke expectations in football. Because Bruno Fernandes came in and hit the ground running. He was instantly incredible, produced insane numbers straight away. But that isn't normal in football. Players and teams take time to adapt. Mason Mount is no different. He needs to be given time. FP saying, as I said in the video, trust Onana to build out more. Certainly, I think something that United could do using this structure. Puts a bit more emphasis on him. Corey saying, I think we needed... Oh, I've lost a comment. Where'd it go? I think we needed a 6/ an 8. So I think we wrongly profiled with Mount, who's an 8 or 10. Potentially, I agree that I think United needed a 6 or an 8. But it genuinely seems like Ten Hag just disagrees. Because even going for someone like Gravenberch, he's still not a proper 6 or 8. Codename saying the small tweak on the offense would be if one of the fullbacks tuck in, the midfield should boom forward, either underlap or overlap. We need to give Mount time. He will cook in Ten Hag's system. We easily target our own player. I've never seen a fan base go after like their own player so much. What is my score prediction for the Tottenham game? I've gone for 2-1 to United, but we'll discuss that a little bit more later. Sancho hold-up play is better than Rashford, which is why I prefer him. The ball sticks to his feet. At the moment, I definitely think Sancho has to be used as a false 9. I don't think Rashford offers you enough in this position. Using Sancho to overload the midfield could certainly work. I spoke about it in my video this morning, if you want to check it out, but also I will cover it a little bit later in stream. I think United would have made a bid for Amrabat by now if they had lost the Wolves game. Quite possibly. Although it still seems like the team needs more money. I think we are too spoiled on players to produce immediately. In fact, the same in workplace, we need time to get used to. Absolutely. These are, I don't care what they're paid, right? They're still humans. It takes time to adjust to new environments, new situations. So who knows? Lightning Gamers saying Martial seems to be back, so I'd just play him. The problem is you probably can't just put him straight into the team because he hasn't played any minutes in pre-season. Maybe 20 minutes here and there from the bench, but he's probably not ready to start just yet. I think the structure Ten Hag used could still work, but we could rotate positions, moving Wan-Bissaka forward, Antony infield, and maybe Mount or Bruno drop into the back. So let's have a look at how that would work real quick. So we'd have Rafael Varane and Luke Shaw dropping in. We'd have Lisandro Martinez, Casemiro, and what you're saying, push Wan-Bissaka forward, Antony infield, something like that. Is that what you're saying? I think that would be better than the current structure, because Wan-Bissaka isn't suited to playing in this way. But I still just think it leaves you a little bit narrow on the left-hand side. That lack of width. But I do like the idea. Højlund and Martial are the only players in our front line who can hold up properly. Absolutely. Sancho can do it in a way, but it's different. Even Cristiano Ronaldo took 2 to 3 seasons to become a world-class player in Manchester United. Spot on. I said it before, I'll say it again. Everyone seems to claim that the Premier League is the best, the strongest, the most competitive league in the world, right? Use whatever word you want. Yet, they expect players to instantly come into a new system and flourish. It doesn't make sense. You can't have it both ways. If it's the best league in the world, the most competitive and the most difficult, it's going to take time to adapt, no? Seems obvious to me. Exactly, Rashford and Sancho are both terrible at holding the ball. I think both have improved massively, but yeah, they both still need work. The 2/8s play as 2/10s. Mount is better than Eriksen defensively. Tactical instructions just have to be fixed. Yeah, is that the next fix we're doing? That's one of the next fix we're doing. We're going to do one more thing and then we'll move on to that. DJ Nature saying a proper left centre mid like Locatelli can help Shaw getting exposed at times. Yeah, Locatelli would still be a really good signing. Anthony's creativity / end product frustrates me. Me too. Do you think he may hinder Højlund's progress when he comes into the team? I think it'll actually be the other way around. I think Rasmus Højlund will really get the best out of Antony. So it could go that way, of course, but I think it will go more like Antony, therefore flourishes. Hopefully. Sancho is better at link-up ball, if that is what you actually meant. Yeah, Sancho's the better linking striker. Someone like Rasmus Højlund, potentially a better hold-up striker. Rashford wants to run in behind more. Absolutely. Let's move on to the next step, right? So we've improved the goal kicks, which means United should be able to get up the pitch a little bit better. My next problem is in the midfield, where the structure was odd the other day. So let's quickly go through it. What was the Manchester United structure? Let's take Sancho out because he didn't play. It was Rashford up front. it was Garnacho on the left-hand side, Antony on the right-hand side. Fernandes and Mount were both in high 10 positions. We had Casemiro here, Luke Shaw inverting infield next to him, and a back three in possession of Lisandro Martinez, Rafael Varane, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So Luke Shaw's tucking into this position here. Of course, Wolves aren't quite as adventurous as this. In fact, a little bit passive at times in the game, but they're going to sit off like this. This is the build-up structure which United were using the other day. And on paper, it looked quite good, right? Because we've got a 3-box-3 shape. What are the benefits of the 3-box-3? Building with a back three allows you to outnumber most attacking shapes. The box of 4 in midfield allows you to overload most teams. Wide wingers pins the opposition back, and so does the striker. On paper, good, right? It's a good structure. But United didn't execute it very well. And I have always had a problem with your fullback being one of the players which inverts into this position. The reason for this is because when you lose the ball, you get players doing different things to each other. And I'll show you what I mean by this. So let's say United are building possession, right? Luke Shaw goes to Casemiro. Bruno Fernandes moves into this position. He's going to attack. He loses possession. Now the opposition look to pounce. Now, initially, it looks like United have got a good structure because you've got a back three ready to defend and you've got the 2 in midfield, right? It's a good structure. But the problem is, Luke Shaw, by default almost, he wants to go defend out wide. And we saw this for several moves during the game. So his thought, the possession's been lost, his first thought is, I'm a left back, I need to be at left back, I need to defend my wide area. So Luke Shaw moves out here. You then got Casemiro who thinks, okay, I'm a midfielder, I need to apply pressure to the ball, I'm quite aggressive in nature in the way that I play, I'm going to pounce towards the ball, I'm going to jump out. This leaves a big problem, because you've got players doing different things. When you defend, it has to be as a unit. You all go forward or you all go backwards. What we were seeing last week was at times Casemiro stepping forward, Luke Shaw's dropping off. Mixed instructions in the team leaves you open. Now, this is almost quite a silly error for the team to make, but it doesn't mean Ten Hag is instantly a bad manager, right? Pep Guardiola had the exact same problem last season. If you go back to, when was it? I think the game was in January. Now, I might be wrong there. If you go back to the game in January, Tottenham played Manchester City. It's the last time Manchester City lost in 90 minutes, I believe. What happened in that game was Manchester City played Rico Lewis at fullback and moved him into this sort of Luke Shaw role, where he's playing midfield, and they had Rodri next to him. Now, what kept happening in that game, and I pointed that out in that very video, was that when they lost the ball, Rico Lewis would then move wide, and Rodri would apply pressure to the ball, leaving this open gap in the middle. Now, what did Pep Guardiola do? He changed it. He stopped putting his fullback in this position, and instead, he put a centre-back in this position. Now, what is the difference here? When you now lose the ball, Lisandro Martinez's first thought as a central player is to defend the middle of the pitch. See, Luke Shaw, as a fullback, wanted to defend out wide, which was leaving gaps. Lisandro Martinez wants to defend the middle of the pitch. So that's what Pep Guardiola done with John Stones. He done that for reasons on the ball, but also out of possession as well. So that's the thought process. It also gets Luke Shaw and Aaron Wan-Bissaka in kind of natural positions, if you like. These are 2 fullbacks. These are 2 players which are used to defending wide areas, wide channels. It's what they do for a living. It kind of makes more sense. Lisandro Martinez likes to be aggressive in the middle, which means you've got 2 midfielders here who want to play on the front foot, which is good because whilst the timing is still important, you've got 2 players now playing on kind of the same line of thinking, the same wavelength. They both want to be aggressive and go win the ball high up the pitch. When the ball goes wide, you've got a natural 1 versus 1 defender in Luke Shaw, and you've got maybe the best in the world at it in Aaron Wan-Bissaka on this side. Now, like I said, Ten Hag doesn't really even deserve criticism for this because Pep Guardiola had the same problems last season. But he noticed it and changed it, and I wonder if Erik Ten Hag will do the same. Because this is a structure we have seen at times. We've seen it in pre-season and a little bit against Wolves. I wonder if we might see it more going forward. What do you think? So someone's saying you can't play Wan-Bissaka there because he's terrible in the build-up. I actually agree. To be fair, he did play this role last week against Wolves. He was in a very similar position, but I do agree. I don't like him in that area. I would much rather Dalot. But, I mean, Ten Hag at the moment seems to favour Wan-Bissaka. Let me just read through some of these messages because there is a load of messages coming through. If you want to guarantee that I see your message, you can use a super chat. Any money will go towards either a new camera or a new mic. I'm going to try read every message anyway, but if you want to guarantee that I see it, make sure to use a super chat. So let's go through some of these. Frosty saying, can we play a 3-2-4-1 with Varane, Martinez and Luke Shaw as the back three, Eriksen and Casemiro pivot 2, Rashford left wing, Mount and Bruno 8, Anthony right wing and Højlund up front. You could. I think the problem would be that in set defence you don't have natural wide defenders because you've got Shaw, Martinez and Rafael Varane, not really anyone else. So perhaps in certain games you could do it, but I think against proper, good, threatening, attacking teams, probably not. Probably doesn't give you enough defensive cover. AJ, do you think Rashford, although having hell of a last season, his game still too very one-dimensional, run into space? A little bit, yeah. But I think if you can get him back on the left wing, I think he'll be okay. Corey saying, I don't think Rashford, Højlund and Anthony would work. I think they are all selfish, but to different degrees. I think we need a creator there as well. I think the hope in that system would be that Anthony is the creator, but we'll just have to wait and see. Of course, players like Luke Shaw as well. Importantly, what I should say with this shape is that this is forever rotating. This isn't a fixed shape. Luke Shaw should not always be left centre-back. At times, it should be Martinez. Sometimes Shaw from this position can absolutely step forward and Alessandro Martinez drops a little bit deeper. Maybe Mason Mount comes in, something like this. These are certainly things which United should be looking to do. We saw it a lot in pre-season. There was rotations all over the pitch, literally constantly. Constantly throughout pre-season, we saw players picking up different positions. I don't know what happened against Wolves because it just went. We didn't see it anymore. So hopefully we see a return to that this weekend against Spurs. Lots of comments here. Okay, let me try and get through some of these. Well, the chat is moving too fast. Hang on, give me 1 second. We saw the same solution with Lindelof in the second half. Yeah, again, I think he could do it to a greater extent on a more regular basis. But yeah, the kind of hint of it happening is certainly there. Ten Hag not tweaking his in-game tactics is quite disturbing. Yeah, I agree. I think it was a little bit concerning how last Monday, it felt the performance was obviously bad, right? And there were tactical problems as well as individual problems. But there didn't seem to be much change. There didn't seem to be much change in approach. It wasn't like, okay, that isn't working, let's fix it. We didn't really see that. So hopefully we see that kind of changing in the future. Ten Hag, when it's needed, needs to make those in-game changes if it's not working. To be fair, eventually we saw Eriksen and Sancho come on, and I thought they both done well. So we're just going to have to wait and see. MUFC E2H saying, hello lads, just joined after an interruption. Welcome to the stream, my friend. I hope you are well. The problem is trying a certain style of play with the wrong... sorry, let me try that again. The problem is trying a certain style of play with the wrong profiles. Yeah, that is absolutely a problem. We know that some of these players don't really fit what Erik ten Hag football is supposed to look like on paper. But unfortunately, that's what football is. So you have to figure out a solution with the squad that you've got. And I think that's what Ten Hag done really well last season. He needs to find a different way of doing it this year to make sure it is better football. Drop Anthony, move Aaron Wan-Bissaka as a wing-back to stop balls to Son and Dalot as the third centre-back. Interesting solution. I like the idea of it. I like to see different tactical ideas. That's the issue. I don't think United players right now has the discipline to do rotation for 90 minutes. Arguably, but I also just don't think they've done it even for 5 minutes the other day. So, baby steps. If they can do it for 5 minutes, maybe they can do it for 10. Mount was bought to facilitate our attack on the right as well. Why did he end up on the left for most of the last game? Anthony was so isolated. If you actually watch my Mason Mount video when he first signed for the club, I was actually one of the few people who thought he was going to play on the left-hand side. A lot of people were saying, you've got him in the wrong place, he's going to play on our right side. I always thought he was going to be a left-sided player. The issue for me more than anything was that he was just too high up the pitch. What player profile do you think we need urgently? Is Amrabat okay? Amrabat is pretty much the profile United need. He can drop in the first phase, receive a pass, he's a good technician, defensively very hard working, but importantly on the ball, he plays horizontally rather than vertically all the time, so he will keep the ball for you, but he still has the ability, if you want to progress through the lines. So yeah, that would be a good signing. Amrabat, Kobe Mainu, that sort of player. Kobe Mainu being fit whenever that happens will be huge. Any transfer update about Manchester United? I don't have any inside information, anything like that. The latest I've read is Pavard is interested, but the Maguire kind of problem is stalling the deal. Gravenberch could happen. Bayern don't want to sell him, but he wants to leave. And there was something else. Thoughts on Gravenberch? We'll come on to that towards the end of stream, but if you keep reminding me, I will try my best to remember to talk about it. Corey saying, I just think the problem is Ten Hag is changing his own principles to play football. He isn't really used to playing. Yeah, I think that is the case. More so last season when, he had a squad which just couldn't physically play his football. And I think that to an extent that is the problem still. You just got to give him time, in my opinion. Give him time to get the players, which can do it. Pep Guardiola, we saw what happened when he was backed. So, supposedly we don't bring any more players in. What do you think would be some kind of solution in terms of our midfield issues? What a beautiful question, because it leads me literally perfectly onto the next thing I want to talk about, the midfield structure. So, I've kind of suggested, right? It doesn't matter what right back it is, I don't really mind. I've suggested that United move to a structure in possession which by default looks a little bit like this. Okay, that is the structure which I have suggested. Now, why have I suggested that? For a defensive point of view. However, it's also for an offensive point of view as well. United can improve on the ball by doing this. Now, how do I do that? First things first, Casemiro, just for the sake of my mental health really, stop pushing forward so much. Please. Play a bit more sideways and stop running forward all the time. Lisandro Martinez is a natural good passer. He's a natural good receiver in the middle phase. He can play with his back to play, so I think this role suits him. Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes also, don't push so high so soon. Because what is kind of happening at the moment, right? Let's go back to last week. What we saw, particularly as the game went on, and United were wanting a goal and kind of pushing on a bit, is Mason Mount was pushing forward up here. Bruno Fernandes was pushing forward. Casemiro's moving a little bit higher, and so is Luke Shaw, who doesn't really know what he's doing. He didn't know how to play that role last week. But what we saw then was the defensive players for United, or the deeper phase players, were kind of standing there on the ball, looking forward and going, how do we pass the ball forward here then, mate? Because they didn't know how to do it, because there wasn't anyone close enough to them. That is a big structural thing which needs to happen. Not only do United need to potentially sign a different profile in midfield, the spacings of the players on the pitch has to be different. Now, we can go through this. We'll start off with this. These are two heat maps here. Now, if you want, have a guess of who they are. This is from the opening weekend of the Premier League season. The left-hand side is a Manchester City player. The right-hand side is a Manchester United player. So while I have a drink, guess who those two players are. It's from, like I said, first weekend of the season. Corey saying, but at least Pep's starting bringing players in who fit his system, but Ten Hag isn't doing that. I agree to an extent. Someone like Casemiro, for example, doesn't fit that. But let's say Onana definitely does, Lisandro Martinez does, Mason Mount does, Anthony does, Rasmus Højlund does. So, it's some of them are definitely reflecting Ten Hag football, and I think we can see that. Some of them aren't. So, yeah, some of them have been a bit like a stopgap approach at times. Okay, we've got the guesses in chat. A couple more people put a guess in. Because someone's saying, if that's Casemiro, laughing face, so they're hoping it's not Casemiro. I'll reveal it in 30 seconds. I want to see at least one more guess in chat of who these two players are. Because it's quite important. Now, obviously what you've got to consider is Manchester City and Manchester United don't have to play the same style of football. Just because City are really good, United don't have to copy it word for word. If United's right winger does something, it doesn't have to be the same as the Manchester City right winger. It can be different. Loads of guesses. I love this. So let's go through the guesses. Maybe a bit of context. Hang on. Let me figure out. The teams are attacking that way. Okay, so both teams are attacking that way. They're defending that area. So this is their defensive end. This is the end they are attacking. If that gives any context to the positioning of these players. So the further that way they are, the more attacking they are, okay? So, the early guesses were Rodri and Casemiro, Rodri and Casemiro, Rodri and Casemiro, Rodri and Casemiro, Rodri and Casemiro. We got Rodri and Bruno. We got Casemiro and Rodri, Foden and Mount, Mount and Silva, as in Bernardo, Stones and Casemiro, Shaw and Walker, Ake and Luke Shaw, Anthony and Silva. The United one is the one with the red under it, that one there. That's the Manchester United player, that's the Manchester City player. Stones and Wan-Bissaka, Anthony and Rodri. So this is two players which are meant to be playing the same position on paper, okay? This, right, believe it or not, and I mean a lot of you guessed it, so you do believe it, this is the two pivots of the Manchester City clubs. The Manchester City clubs, the Manchester clubs. So over here, we have Rodri. That is his heat map against Burnley last week. Now, bear in mind, again, both teams are attacking that way, right? So they're defending that way, attacking that way. Over here, we've got Rodri. Over here, we've got Casemiro. Can someone please tell me, and this isn't even like a rhetorical question or a way of quizzing you guys, genuinely please help me, why is Casemiro's heat map primarily in the right attacking half space? Can someone tell me? What is he doing up there? Now, it's got to be, to an extent, tactical instruction, right? Because players don't just do what they want. They're told what to do by the manager, right? But it's not where he should be. Now, so what are the reasons? Let's have a look. So, some people are saying, Casemiro is so advanced. You're not wrong. He should be a 6, right? He should. So people are saying maybe he's up there because there's no ball progression. Fair point. Covering Bruno's advancement, I suppose. Possible. Because that's the area where Bolton kind of left open. Bolton? Wolves? It's because I saw the word Wanderers. Think we tried to force the transition a lot. Ten Hag's revolutionary tactics, CDM right wing rotation. He is not good on the ball and avoids it to relieve Wan-Bissaka. This is strange to say the least. Covering for a right midfielder. Like I said, I don't have the reason to this. This is genuinely me asking you guys. Because I want to show you the problem that it creates, okay? This is where we're really going to focus on it. So what we're going to do is, give me 1 second. Someone's saying it's the same as what Kobe Mainoo was doing. It is in the sense that it's right-sided, but it's so much more advanced. It's so far up the pitch. Now what we've got to consider, if we quickly just go back to the tactical board. Let's say I'm Aaron Wan-Bissaka on the ball. Now bear in mind, just to quickly go back to it, sorry. Just because his heat map is high on the right, that doesn't mean he spends the whole game there, okay? It doesn't mean he's there the whole time. And again, United don't have to do what City do just because City are good at football. However, he is clearly pushing quite forward, right? Pushing quite far forward, strangely. Now, what this leaves you with, when we had last week, we had Luke Shaw, who's playing an inverted midfield role, but he weren't quite sure on his timing of movement. There was often times when someone would have the ball in this area here, and he was a bit too wide. Or other times he was a bit too narrow. But specifically, he was a bit too wide than what he should have been. And we also had Casemiro pushing forward. What we had is, like I said earlier, players in these deeper positions just didn't know who to pass to. Now, the result of that is quite bad, and it's a problem which Erik ten Hag needs to fix. Fortunately, it's really easy to fix, but I do just quickly want to have a look at it. So we're going to crack open Want's Video Analyzer Pro, like so. So this is the United shape. Now, like I said, just because Casemiro's average position was that right half space, it doesn't mean he was there all the time, right? But we know that he was there in certain situations because we literally have the factual data to prove it. Now, what it does is, like I've said, is it creates a distance between the defence and the midfield. Now, what do you make of this shape here? What are your problems with this shape? Or do you not have a problem with this shape? If you don't, that is fine. But what are your thoughts looking at this shape? Looking at this system, what are your kind of first thoughts? Get those in chat. Let me kind of just be reading some of your other thoughts. So someone saying his positioning was just off against Wolves. Could be the case. Someone saying a 3-0-6 formation. Yeah, there's someone like deep behind me somewhere as well on the left wing. Gaping hole, long distance to pass. No good. Should be a player coming into off options. The space between the first third and middle third players. Team is not compact enough. Where is the passing options? Surely that's a one-game thing. Now, that's true. It might be a one-game thing. It might have been a day where United, they might have just had a bad day. Absolutely. But of course, it means you need to change something somewhere. Because, as you've rightly pointed out, the distance between the ball and your pivot midfielder, who typically is the one who kind of looks to an extent to kind of control things, is too big. This gap is far too big. Now what I want to do is take you to Manchester City. Now, again, Manchester City are not perfect. They are not the textbook. They are not the way football has to be played. But I think we would all agree United like to do certain things which are similar to City. I can see what you're saying. I will come back onto that in a second if you remind me in a few minutes. But if you could avoid spamming chat, that would be appreciated. But what we can see, right, is that the gap is just too big. The gap in this area is far too big. If we now move to Manchester City, this was against Sevilla in midweek. Now, first of all, this camera is so much better than that other one. But what we're going to notice is City have kind of picked up a similar-ish shape. Of course, it's not the same. It's a completely different scenario. But look at the distance from the ball to the first line of receivers. The gap is phenomenal. If we quickly... Look, this is the City team, right? Look at the gaps from the first line to the second line to the third line to the fourth line. They're really small gaps. Compare this to United. Now, initially, on this occasion, United have only even got 2 lines, which is a problem. But look at the difference in how close to each other the players are. The Manchester City players are in close proximity, meaning you can fire passes through the lines, you can make something happen, there's always an option on the ball. The United players are just far too far apart. Now, like I said, and what other people have said, maybe this was Casemiro just having a bad game. Maybe it's not Casemiro's fault. Maybe when Casemiro pushed forward, someone else should have dropped in. And that is what I've been saying all week. There should have been more rotations. Absolutely. But this was a problem. Now, people are saying about Wolves being brave, Wolves pushing men forward. Absolutely, that is relevant. Wolves had a different approach to what Sevilla did. But the important thing here is the distance between the players is just far too big for United. It's far too big. If we go back to this, and let's go back to United real quick. Once it loads, 1 second. Let's put United in this shape like this. What if we move some of these players about? So I'm going to get rid of this. Can we move some of the players about? What if we take Casemiro here, right? We'll highlight Casemiro here. What if we put him in this position here? Let's put him just next to this forward here. And we're going to do the same on this occasion with Christian Eriksen. We're going to put him in here. That suddenly would give United a new shape. Because now United are back in a proper 3-2 shape. And the players on the ball have options. We've got the 2 here and you've got your back 3 here. This instantly gives United more options to move the ball forward through the pitch. Because now, rather than having no one, if we go back to it, no one to pass to. They're all cut off. No one is even considering showing for the ball, which again is just really odd. What I will say is I think the players had a bad day. I think normally we would see someone dropping in because I think they were just having a bad day of football. I really do. But it can't happen. It cannot happen because if you've done this, the passing options are now there. You can go through the lines if you want to. Now, suddenly, Luke Shaw, if he wants to, he can pop the ball into Eriksen in this position. You can pop the ball into Casemiro in here. I also think some of these forwards could be deeper as well, but that's not the most important thing. The lines have to be connected. There has to be a connection point through your team. You can't be in situations like this where the gaps are just massive and you're kind of standing there stranded on the ball. You can't have that because the good teams don't do it in modern day football. You can talk about what is the right way to play football. Your players need to be close to each other. Yes, you need to make the pitch big. You need to spread out. You need passing options. But you also need to physically be able to get the ball to each other. If not, what's the point in being on the football pitch? Do you see what I'm saying? And absolutely that. Codename just said it. It still goes back to a lack of off-the-ball movement. And that is very much my problem. Where was the off-the-ball movement in this game? Casemiro's movement was happening, to be fair, but just into strangely high positions. But why wasn't Mason Mount dropping in? Why wasn't Bruno Fernandes dropping in? I don't really get that. Now, like I said, as much as this is me kind of telling you guys certain stuff, it's also me genuinely asking you, because I don't have the answer to all these problems because I'm not the manager, I'm not the player, I don't know what was coached into them. But I think we can hopefully all see the problem there. And a lot of you guys seem to be loving this, by the way. So I hope you are enjoying something a little bit different. But DJ Nature saying there, simple rule for the first and second line, outnumber your opponent. It's really important. It's really important. Now, this is why I've suggested moving Lisandro Martinez in here, because I think naturally he would play a little bit deeper. Again, rotations, yes. He's not fixed into this position. People need to rotate. What we also need to see is Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes not being so high. They're too high. And again, Codename has nailed it there. In pre-season, Mount, Kobe Mainu, or Shaw would move to receive the ball. But in the first game of the season against Wolves, everything was thrown out the window. This is why I'm hopeful moving forward, right? Because you would hope that it was a one-off bad game. Maybe things just didn't work for whatever reason. So hopefully players kind of turn that thing on up there for the next game and for the rest of the season, and we don't see the same problems. But it is definitely something that United need to do. Now, we're saying United need to rotate more. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? What's your advice on how United should rotate? It's one thing saying Lisandro Martinez should rotate or Mason Mount should rotate. Where should they rotate to? I need another drink because we're doing a lot of talking. So what do you think? Where would you like to see players moving to? And yeah, a little bit of everything. Let me know your thoughts. Because like I said, I need a drink. Also, actually, before we continue, press the like button and subscribe. Costs you literally nothing, but I think you should do it. Just press that like button. Go on. Really easy. It's either like a tap or a click. Press the like button. Let's see how many likes we can get on this stream. Because the support so far on this stream has been absolutely incredible. I hope you guys enjoyed that different breakdown. Because we don't normally do that live, so yeah. So let's read through some of these comments. Also, the 2 yellow cards to Lisandro Martinez and Shaw neutralised them from early on. I think they weren't as daring as they could be. That's a really good point. The fact that they were booked didn't help. Now, again, some of the problem was the structure. The players were kind of giving themselves bookings. Because Casemiro's so high, he's forcing himself to dive into a challenge. And Lisandro Martinez, we know, is always aggressive. Okay, so let's read through some of these. So these are suggestions on how United should rotate moving forward. I love to see all the suggestions, by the way. Absolutely brilliant. There are loads of you in chat right now, meaning there's a lot of messages coming through. I'm going to try and read as many of them as possible. If I miss your message, I'm sorry. If you want to guarantee that I see it, you can use a donation with a message. It guarantees that I see the message. Any money goes towards either a new camera or a new mic to improve the channel, but don't feel you have to. It's completely up to you. So let's go through some of these ideas. First of all, actually, no, Lee Parker has just said something really important. Everyone tap that like for AJ. Yes. Yes. Leave a like on it, because this is top quality if you ask me. So, either Mount or Bruno need to drop in a bit deeper. Mount should drop deeper, IMO, and let Bruno advance because he's better at chance creation. Relying on Aaron Wan-Bissaka to progress players suicidal. Move Varane out to right centre-back, Licha to centre-back, then push Aaron Wan-Bissaka to Bruno position and tell Bruno to drop alongside Casemiro and Shaw left centre-back in that position. The only issue with that is defensively, Rafael Varane's not very good out wide. But it's definitely an idea. I like the idea of a solution. I think Mount should drop deeper to receive. He is underrated for tempo control, to be honest. Sometime they were playing a 3-1-5-1 instead of a 3-2-4-1 with Casemiro playing the right 10 position. They need to work on positioning. True. Someone saying, I can't believe I've been watching you for months, but only just remembered to subscribe, lol. Well, thanks for watching me for months. Thank you for subscribing. I hope you enjoy all of the content. Yeah, everyone, subscribe. Can Mount and Casemiro switch their sides on the pitch? I think it's unlikely. I do think it's unlikely. Again, apologies that I'm kind of touching my nose a lot. Hay fever is getting the better of me. Key for Bruno and Mount to drop down this weekend to stop Maddison and overload on the left. If you want, we can do a Spurs specific preview a bit later on. I had to do a video on it this morning, though, if you want to check that out. So a lot of people are saying some form of combination of Mount and Fernandes dropping deeper. Now, the problem initially is almost how do you drop deeper? Because in this system, it is a little bit difficult at times because there isn't naturally space in the middle of the park. The space is more out wide. This is where United need a little bit of flexibility. Let's say we're playing this structure, for example, and it's not working. Could we see more of a change in moments, it's situational, to a 2-4 where Mason Mount drops a little bit deeper? I think that could be a big fix. Genuinely, again, it's really, really simple, but I think it fixes a lot of problems. And again, it kind of reduces these spaces, reduces the gaps between the lines, because hopefully, they're dropping deeper. That's the whole plan here. Could we see that? Very much so. I think it could work, especially with someone like Jadon Sancho up front, who is happy to drop into these areas. It gives you a shape which almost represents what Brighton were doing last season a lot of the time. I think it could work. Someone saying there should be a line of 4 and not a line of 3. United is not yet at the level of City. That is actually a really good point, and I think it's probably something which even I kind of get wrong at times. This United team technically isn't on the level of City, so it is difficult to match what they do. Again, so many messages coming through, which is great to see. I really appreciate your guys' support in this stream. Al Max saying, am I saying that this midfield combo can work without changes in personnel? Are you saying we don't need a press-resistant ball carrier in the midfield? Yes, I am saying that. If it was, let's make one thing clear. If I was the manager of Manchester United, apologies for hitting the mic, I probably wouldn't have signed Mason Mount, because I don't think he's great in the first phase. Instead, good to see you back, FP, mate. You've missed a big section on Tactical Breakdown, so make sure to watch this stream back at some point. Everyone seemed to enjoy it, but I hope you're good. I would have signed more of a first phase player. If it was me personally, if it was up to me on how you run the football club, I would have done things differently. Okay? So, when I praise Mason Mount, for example, and talk about things he could do in this team, I'm trying to give you guys the point of view of what Erik ten Hag is thinking. That's what I'm trying to do for you guys. But genuinely, do I think that this midfield can work? Yes, I do think it can. Ideally, you do something a little bit different, but we don't live in an ideal world. You just have to coach the players in the right way and get the balance right. At the moment, that's not happening. Casemiro, again, I've had criticism on the channel for kind of criticising Casemiro, and people don't like it. But physically, you can't deny that when you look at this heat map, he's playing too far forward. He also plays his passes too fastly forward. He's too rushed. He wants to get the ball forward at the first occasion. Stop doing that. Mason Mount, drop a little bit deeper. Make this overload in deeper areas. Drop into this second line a little bit more. Get the ball. Bruno Fernandes, be a bit calmer in possession. You don't always have to be firing the ball forward. Is it perfect right now? No. It's not. But can it be? Can it be coached into something which genuinely works? I do think this midfield 3 can work. Is it going to be, for example, perfect this weekend? I really doubt it. I doubt it's going to be perfect this weekend. But could we revisit it in 3 months and suddenly it's a bit better? I think we could. I do think we could. Like I said, a lot of the thing, and we will go back to it again real quick. It's about... here it is. It's about getting the right distances in midfield. To do that, Casemiro has to make sure that he's dropping deeper and playing the ball properly. We have to make sure that players are dropping deep to receive the ball. Mason Mount, his movement does need to be better. It wasn't good enough in the first game week. Bruno Fernandes, also the same. The movement has to be good. Also, just individually, these players need to learn how to control a football. Because in this game, we didn't see it. So those are things which, again, naturally, I think, and I've said it several times already, but I will say it again, I think that Wolves game was a bad reflection of this United team. I don't think this United team is as bad as what it looked last week. Someone saying, and learned to pass the ball. Yeah, would be nice. Yeah, learn to pass the ball and learn to control the football. But those are things which realistically we expect from this team. Garnacho's normally good in his 1-versus-1 situations. You know, Mason Mount, for example, normally has a better first touch. Luke Shaw's normally better with his passing. So this was a kind of over-exaggerated version of what these players are from a negative point of view. But I still think there are tactical changes which can be made. I think the football needs to be a little bit slower. I'm all for Ten Hag's transitioning football. I love that he wants his team to be the best transitioning team in the world. We spoke about it the other week. I love that. I really love the idea of that. But you can't do it constantly. Not every time you get the ball. It doesn't have to go forward. You can't do it all the time. Someone asking, or saying, I should say, Shaw shouldn't invert. Instead, in build-up, Shaw, Martinez, Varane, 3 centre-back. So, like this, I believe is what it's saying. One of Mount or Bruno and Casemiro as centre mids. So like this. Hang on, I'm just trying to read this. With wingers wide, so Anthony and Rashford out wide, for example. Sancho false 9, drop a bit. One of the midfielders making runs off the ball. What would you do with Wan-Bissaka in that situation, or the right back? Would you have them higher in the half space? Let me know what you think. Casemiro isn't static. He is very much one who's tempted to make those duels. Yeah, all the time. All the time. And that does put pressure on the centre-backs. Some of the problem I also think that United had was because they were trying to invite Wolves onto them, but Wolves almost weren't taking the bait. And when Wolves did take the bait, then players weren't moving enough. Our winger, especially Rashford, was not a creator. Anthony was a creator, but we don't have a proper centre forward right now. Hopefully, Rasmus Højlund comes back. Or not comes back, but comes into a team and addresses that. FP making a really good point there, by the way, saying Ajax had the same issue when they struggled to defend against transitions. Of course, that was the Ten Hag side. Really good point. Really, really good point. The fallout was mad, but I believe we need to calm down and let the manager manage as well. I completely agree. Of course, I'm always going to give my opinion because it's what you guys subscribe for. But yeah, like, it doesn't need to be rushed. What do I think? Fullbacks should push on. Casemiro halfback. Bruno and Mount drop. Wingers tuck in. Half space is looking to underlap. Bruno and Mount got the work rate to join the attack. So hang on, let me just try and... So you're saying tuck our wingers in. You're saying push the fullbacks forward. You're saying drop Casemiro into the defence. Mount and Bruno Fernandes a little bit deeper. I think the problem with that is Bruno Fernandes deep. Is it ideal? No, he's such a good creator. I think you want him higher up the pitch. But also, and you might disagree with this, I think where football is at currently, I personally just really like a wide winger rather than a fullback because they're just better in 1-versus-1s. But it's an idea that could work, and it's a rotation which you could see in-game, certainly. Do you think Mount signing is a mistake? Again, it's not what I personally would have done, but it doesn't mean it's a mistake. It just means that Ten Hag has a different plan than what I was thinking. I believe Rasmus will be involved in some capacity versus Forest. When do we play Forest? Could someone let me know? We should be a transitional team in the first 5 to 10 minutes, get a goal and sit back, invite them onto us, and have Onana, this magic. This transitional tactic must be in phases. So next week, is it? Oh, I thought we had someone else next. I don't know who I was thinking. But I thought we had someone else next. If Rasmus is back for that Forest game, that'd be huge. Obviously, he was tweeting yesterday or posting on Insta saying like soon or something. Are we seeing that Ten Hag wants to go with his last Ajax team tactics, or is he going with completely different tactics? And saying, can I show us what Ten Hag did with his last Ajax side, using our team to compare? I can't do that today, just because I don't have it prepared. But yeah, this team is taking shape in a very, very similar way to what his last Ajax side did, with a few different areas. For example, like Rashford on the wing. Ajax didn't really have that sort of profile. But yeah, this is certainly starting to resemble his last Ajax side rather than his famous one, which had Frenkie de Jong. What does anyone think of maybe playing someone like Amrabat or even Kobe Mainu as a inverted right back? So let me just like kind of talk about how that would work. Could this player play like this and kind of connect into the two with Casemiro and push two midfielders further forward? Does anyone like the idea of that or not? I know people were suggesting it in that one preseason game where Kobe Mainu played kind of like he was dropping right all the time. Do you think this works or not? Now again, the problem for me is I don't think Rafael Varane these days is very good here. I prefer him as the middle defender. But I think there's maybe some potential behind it. Maybe. Yeah, like Z had said there, Arsenal did it with Partey against Forest. And yeah, it did work quite well for them. Pinning your hopes on such a young player is a mistake. Very true. He can't just be completely relied upon in the case of Kobe Mainu. Yeah, maybe, but would be worse off defending the wide spaces in transition. I think that's spot on. I think it would improve United on the ball, but probably defensively in transition, it's probably not good enough. I think I agree with you there. Just thought I'd kind of throw the idea out there as an experiment. In terms of the tactical tweaks, though, which you've probably clicked on in terms of the title and thumbnail, those are the main ones I would be making. I would be changing the goal kick structure, like we were talking about 40 minutes ago now. I would be building in a back three with Lisandro Martinez pushing a little bit further forward. Personally, I would play Dalot at right back. Will we see that? I'm not too sure. From here, I would make sure that the rotations are far greater. There needs to be way more rotations in this team. The midfield needs to be far more connected to the back line and then to the next line of midfield. Players need to be more patient on the ball, take their time. Let's talk about Sancho a little bit. I think his ball protection could be really useful. I think especially if you are splitting Fernandes and Mason Mount a little bit wider, giving Jadon Sancho room to drop into, I think that could really work. Because this United attacking setup needs to find a way of keeping the ball a bit better. Not only did United keep the ball poorly in the middle third, they did in the final third as well. I think we saw that change when Sancho came onto the pitch last week. So what are our thoughts on that? Would I be happy if United signed Dusan Tadic as a backup striker? I think he's already moved, right? Could someone tell me? I think he's already moved. A player like Kovacic or Frenkie de Jong would be perfect playing alongside Casemiro. Yeah, I'm not sure if you remember, but I did do a video on Kovacic very early in the summer. And I think it would have been a good signing. We need to play a 3-2-5, kind of what this shape looks like, or a 2-3-5. By the way, I'm aware I've got 12 players on the pitch here. It's because I'm still undecided at right back. Let's do this again, actually. We've done it a few times, I think. Let's do a poll. Wan-Bissaka or Dalot? Let's get it out there. You guys love a good poll. We haven't done one yet today. So let's have a crack with this. What do we reckon? I want to see over 70 people voting on this if we can. Dalot gets the first vote. Dallow's edging it early on. Someone putting in chat there. There is a poll if you're interested, if you want to use it like that. Wherever the other team doesn't want you to have the ball in possession, that's where Sancho should look to receive it. He's so useful in traffic. Good point. Really good point. Yeah. kind of use him as a spare man in build-up at times, popping into different areas because he is so technically secure. This is also the counterpoint as well, and we've made it ever since we started the channel, really. Wan-Bissaka does have clear strengths over Dalot in terms of this weekend you're playing against Heung-min Son. Maybe you go for Aaron Wan-Bissaka for his defensive ability. What I will say at the same time, though, I thought Wan-Bissaka played okay defensively against Wolves. His positioning was horrendous, though. People look at it and go, he made this many tackles, this many defensive actions. Positionally, I did not like what I was seeing. The amount of runners that were getting off the back of him was not good to see. Dalot's edging the vote at the moment. I want to see more votes. We've got 52. Let's get to at least 70 if we can. If you were the manager of Man United, would you sell Aaron Wan-Bissaka? Because I would. I don't like him at all in possession. Obviously, for this I would keep him, but next summer I would sell him and Dalot should be our right back. Yeah, I would sign a new right back next summer. It's a position which I've been asked about a few times recently, and my answer is kind of keep an eye on the Scouting for United series because I'm going to figure something out. I'm going to find you guys the right back. I've got my eye on a few different players. I will find the right one. On the ball, Wan-Bissaka plays like the ball is lava, but I strangely like it. Yeah, there's something endearing about watching Wan-Bissaka play football because he's just so different to everyone else on the planet. So yeah, I get what you're saying. People forget that if you are in the right position, you don't need to make as many tackles. Very good point. Son is looking pretty finished, so Dalot should be fine. I wouldn't go as far as saying Son is finished, but I don't think the current Postecoglou system at Spurs suits him. So Red saying, I prefer Dalot, but Aaron Wan-Bissaka is going to start on Saturday based on his performance. I still want a new right back. Someone like Mazraoui, Barr, Martinez, Fresneda. You have literally just listed the four that I want to really proper dive into this season. I know a lot about Mazraoui already. I've followed him massively for the past few seasons. And Barr as well. I know quite a lot about him. But yeah, there's a few I want to talk about here. I think I've missed a couple of comments in there. If we had one more first phase player, you could have had overlapping fullbacks and the midfield stay back. But we bought Mount, so it doesn't really work. Yeah, to an extent, I agree. Yeah. Luke Shaw, 1 versus 1, 2 was bad as well. Yeah, he weren't helped by his booking for sure. But yeah, he didn't have a good game at all. I really like Luke Shaw, but he didn't play well. Dalot is not that bad at defending in general, to be fair. I think aerially he gives you something as well, which is quite handy at times. He definitely needs to improve from a defensive point of view. I do just wonder, though, him kind of in this space. Let's mark it out real quick, actually. I do just think you can get him in this space out here, where we've currently got Raphael Varane in this system. Could you have Dalot there? Raphael Varane's going to be your middle defender if I move it across. And then have Lisandro Martinez here, maybe? Or Luke Shaw here. Deadshot saying he wants to know about Malacia. How good is he going forward and defensively, and what are his strengths? I'll probably discuss that more when we kind of see him returning to the team, returning from injury. Could this be why he wants to buy Munich centre-back? I assume you are referencing Pavard to go alongside our number 6 to be a ball progressor and very defensive. I think Pavard would be unlikely to rotate into these positions here, but I think he could play in these areas. Maybe with them Raphael Varane here, Lisandro Martinez here potentially. Is Dalot decent at inverting? Yeah, he's probably the best of the United fullbacks. I think Luke Shaw's got the most potential, but he's not there yet. He needs work on like the angle with which you receive a ball, where you position yourself on a football pitch, receiving the ball with your back to play. Shaw needs work on it. Dalot's probably the best at it at the moment. Let me have a look at the vote. The vote is 51% to Dalot at the moment, by the way. More votes. I want more votes. I want at least 7 more votes. If you are in the stream right now, vote. Vote, 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 vote. I want at least 7 more. We're not ending the poll until we get a few more. Is there any players Ten Hag is selling or looking to sell? I don't actually know, to be honest. Maguire, but Maguire seems to not want to leave. Eric Bailly probably will go. Facundo Pellistri might go out on loan. Apart from that, I don't know too much. Maybe someone else could answer that. We can't sell water in a desert. Big problem. Big problem. Ed Woodward ruined this club by giving everyone incredibly large contracts which no one can afford to pay. Which gives you a problem. Why would I want to buy this player who's on 400 grand a week? And if I'm that player, why would I want to move when I'm making that much money for doing nothing? Problem. Was the treble-winning Manchester City team perfect in every way? I don't think it's possible to be perfect in football. Just because I think it's 11 humans on the pitch. I don't think it's ever possible to be perfect. Dallow's won the poll. We have got 273 votes. Thank you very much for everyone which got involved. Hang on, I'm just replying to a text. Paqueta to Manchester City might be on the verge of collapse. Interesting. Very close poll that, and I think that probably sums it up. I'm not sure how our percentages add up to 99%, but I think that sums it up. Do you think we need to sign Amrabat to complete our midfield? Yep. United need at least one more midfielder. At least one more. Ed Woodward has blood on his hands for what he has done to United. Yeah. Agreed. What do I think of Gravenberch for centre mid? We'll probably come on to that later. What I want to quickly do is go through the other games this weekend. It's going to be super brief. We're literally just going to do a poll on who we think is going to win and some score predictions in chat as well. But just for 1 second, I am going to disappear. I just need to quickly grab something, but I will be like 10 seconds. I'm back. Hay fever is winning the battle, but I'm back. What were we talking about? Let's quickly, what we're going to quickly do is go through these games and we're going to do a quick poll. I want you guys to vote for who you think will win the game, or a draw, obviously. We're going to go through 5 games. We're going to do a little poll just for something a little bit different. Give me a tiny... Oh, I just pressed the wrong button. Hang on. Ignore that poll. Pretend that poll didn't happen. Let me try again. Hang on. Let's go. Liverpool. Let's go. Draw. We're only going to do a couple of these, like 5 of these. We're just going to do like a quick 1 or 2 minute poll to give myself a little tiny bit of a break. Then we'll move on back to United. We're going to talk about Ryan Gravenberch. We're going to talk about United versus Tottenham as well. Someone said it's 10-0. Yeah, Hay Fever's 10-0 up at the moment. How many votes can we get on this? If we can get near 50, that would be great. How do the votes go down sometimes? What are you guys doing? Do you like change your vote and click off or what? Speaking of Bournemouth, the news is that Tyler Adams looks like he's getting here we go. Really like the Bournemouth team this year. I think it's going to take time for them to click and play their nice football, but they're making some nice moves. They're doing some good business. Get me a score prediction in chat for this game as well, by the way, guys. Get me a score prediction. Can I have multiple polls going at once or not? Can I have several going at once? I can't. Alright, that one's pretty unanimous. Everyone's going with Liverpool on that one. Let's quickly move on to City Newcastle, because this could be a really good game. See, 1-1 draw. Solanke and Salah penalty. Nice. Ashton saying 5-1 to Liverpool or Bournemouth? To Bournemouth, right? Maybe. How on earth are Chelsea getting away with financial fair play? Your guess is as good as mine, my friend. I don't attempt to understand that. City 1-0. Newcastle will win. Cyborg scores. Most of the time he does. Chelsea won't get away with it. Yeah, I think probably eventually it catches up with them. But who knows? If Fabinho goes to Saudi for 40 million, then Casemiro should go for 60 next year. Interesting idea. I think we should play Rashford, Højlund and Sancho because Anthony is not working the way we want to play. Cheeky Newcastle 2-1 win. Newcastle will score but still lose 3-1. Tony Bravo saying 3-all. It will be very entertaining. What a game that would be. I'm unlikely to cover this on the channel because obviously United play Spurs on Saturday as well. So I'll be covering that game instead. If this game is super entertaining though, I might cover it. Yeah, Chelsea will probably eventually get punished. Maybe they're just trying to buy a load of players before they get a ban. Who knows? We're going to do, like I said, we're going to do 2 more polls after this. Then we're going to talk about Ryan Gravenberch for a bit. I'm not sure whether or not to do a video on him. So if we cover it in stream, we can kind of decide from there. We're going to end the poll for this one here. What do I think of Tottenham? Are you setting me up for the song or genuine question? Genuine question, Spurs are good. Spurs will cause a lot of problems. All right, we're going to move on to West Ham versus Chelsea. Do I want brand new stadium or renovated Old Trafford? Sentimental value, I'd probably say a renovation. Do I think Eddie Howe is better than Ten Hag? He's probably more proven simply because he's been around a bit longer, but no, I don't. In all seriousness, they look decent. Yeah, Spurs do look decent. Do I see Pavard play as right centre-back or right-back if he managed to join? We'll quickly go to that. The talk is, which I've heard, is that apparently, I can't remember who was saying this, apparently he's been promised that if he plays, he's going to get starting game time as a centre-back. Make of that what you will. Who was saying it? I saw it in the news the other day. Can anyone remember who broke the... No, I think it was this morning. Can anyone remember who broke the news? Newcastle will destroy City on the transition. Yeah, Newcastle's transition looked scary last week. Can we put Ten Hag in elite managers bracket? Just about. Just about. Tony saying, where will Chelsea's goals come from? 1-1 for sure. I can't remember. I did do a prediction earlier, but I can't remember what I went for. Yeah, you guys are right. You guys are spot on. Yeah, there's talks that Pavard's been told that if he's going to play, he's going to be centre-back and he's going to get game time, which would leave you with something like this. He's going to play centre-back. I don't like it, personally. Disasi, 2 goals in a row? Potentially. He might need to go up for a corner again. Was it a free kick, actually? Can't remember. Who had Reece James in their FPL when he got injured? This idiot over here. 3 defenders, Lindelof, Varane and Lisandro Martinez, with 2 holding midfielders, Amrabat and Casemiro. What do I think? My problem with a shape like that is you don't have any natural wide defenders. Lindelof and Raphael Varane, not great at defending channels in isolated 1-versus-1 situations. I mean, Lisandro Martinez isn't perfect at it either. But obviously that midfield 2 would provide a lot of protection. Now it will be an own goal by Disasi. Might have to put a bet on it now you've said it. Inter already submitted a bid for Pavard. Yes, I don't believe it's been accepted yet though, right? I'm not surprised there's competition though. He's a good player, really underrated. Everyone going with Chelsea though. So we will have that. Let's go for one more poll, literally last one. And then we're going to go back to talking about Manchester United. We're going to talk about Ryan Gravenberch, like I said. If you want, we can focus on Spurs as well. Although I have covered that in a video this morning. If you want to check it out after the stream. Thought it's a pretty decent video, if you ask me. Apologies for hitting the mic. Palace versus Arsenal. Someone saying, thoughts on Amrabat, Kudus, Todibo, Gravenberch. Todibo, really good player. Really good centre-back. Would be ideal for this United team. As a centre-back, as a backup option to Raphael Varane. I like the idea of it. Gravenberch, we'll come on to it in a second. Amrabat is a must-sign for me. Genuinely, you've got to sign him, if you ask me. And who's the other one? Kudus. I need to watch more. Yeah, codename, I saw that. United might sign Johnny Evans on a permanent, right, for a 1-year deal, which is interesting. Gravenberch or Amrabat? For me, Amrabat. If you could do both, that would be ideal. Maybe sell Scott McTominay, buy Amrabat, loan Gravenberch. Maybe something like that could work. Shaw, Lissandro Martinez, Pavard. Left centre back, right back, and Casemiro, Amrabat as centre mid may work. That's got a bit more potential to it. The problem is the lack of height in the back line, but there is potential there for sure. I literally voted draw for all of them because I want that. You want everyone dropping points? Nah, surely you want a Palace win here, surely. Why has Atlantis not revealed his face? I think he has. I think he done a video over a year ago now where his face was in it. I can't remember what the video was, but I think his face has been on the channel. Great channel though. If you aren't subscribed, go check him out. United should not have rejected 60 mil for Maguire and McSauce. Yeah, especially the Maguire one is a mess. Alright, let's end the poll there. Let's get back to United talk, because that's what you guys are here for at the end of the day. Unsurprisingly, Arsenal have won that pretty comfortably. Let me know some scoreline things there. Didn't Maguire reject the move? I think so. Isn't it something like he wanted Manchester United to pay out however much money to for his contract, which he's not going to be getting? Something like that. And he just thinks he can play at United. He might use Amrabat like he did with Mainu in that preseason game before he got injured. Yeah, I could see it. I could see it. Palace away is a very difficult fixture. Yeah, really difficult. I think Arsenal will probably win the game, but I don't think it will be as easy as what some people think. I don't know if you're in stream, this person who has just shared the FPL League on Twitter. If you are in the stream right now, absolute legend. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, my friend. He'll lose his England spot for sure as well. True. Should we talk about Ryan Gravenberch? And the first thing I want to talk about is what you guys know about him. I'll give my thoughts in a second. What are your thoughts on Ryan Gravenberch? If you are only just now joining the stream, welcome. I hope you're all well. Hope you're having a good week, having a good day, looking forward to the weekend. What we've really covered in depth so far today was tactical changes which United could make, and we've done this cool little section here, which we haven't done live before. If you want to check it out, the stream will go up as a video once we're finished. So make sure to check this out, because I thought this was a good little bit of coverage, and chat seemed to enjoy it as well. Jamie Carragher saying, at over 100 million, Enzo Fernandez, Rice and Caicedo are all better value signings than Casemiro. I actually agree with Carragher on this one, which is quite rare for me. Look who is in chat. I don't even need to say his name. Put love hearts in right now. Before I even say the name, love hearts, clapping emojis, everything. The man, the myth, the legend. Ali with the $9.99 donation saying, good morning AJ and this amazing community. I hope everyone has a fantastic Friday. Sorry for joining late, but after our performance against Wolves, I am a bit worried, especially our lack in the final third. Well, as always, my man, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the donation. Absolute legend as always. I want to see more love hearts. Get love hearts in the chat. Spam them. I hope you're well. No worries for joining late. We did do a really cool bit covering some of the problems against Wolves and how that can change moving forward. So if you want to watch kind of what you've missed so far, this will go up on the channel once we're finished. So make sure to check it out because we've done a good bit on this. But yeah, Ali, thank you so much. You're an absolute legend. Always have been, always will be. Probably the biggest legend on the channel. Unless someone wants to rival him. What are my thoughts on Maguire? I actually think he's a good player, but it's probably in his best interest from a mental health point of view to leave the club because everyone seems to hate him. Ali saying he'll rewatch it for sure. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was actually quite good what we covered. Thank you very much for the donation as always. You are an absolute legend. So, before... What were we talking about before the legend came in? What were we talking about? Ryan Gravenberch. Thoughts? What do we think of Gravenberch? Also, shout out all of you guys with the love hearts and the clapping emojis in chat. Great support. I love to see it. Ryan Gravenberch, what do you know about him? What are your thoughts on him? Do you like him as a player? Do you think he needs improvement? Where do you think he fits from a systematic point of view? What do you think? Spoke elegant like a butterfly, donate as hard like a bee. Cheers to Ali. What a comment that is. Codename, that's class. So Tony saying Gravenberch will give us much needed ball carrying in the midfield. FP saying he's a good advanced 8, but I still prefer Amrabat. We need a controller in midfield, and Gravenberch isn't really that. Isn't he a good ball carrying midfielder? He might suit our team. Everyone else, get in the comments. Get in chat, sorry. What do you know about Gravenberch? Those are all spot on so far, just to give you a bit of a hint. But let me know what you're thinking. Maguire is greedy and I don't like him. We have no sympathy for him. Blunt and to the point, but I like it. Have I watched Ten Hag's pre-Tottenham preview? Brian, I have not. Could you sum it up for me? Could you sum it up? Gravenberch strikes me as a Sabitzer kind of player. In terms of position, yeah, I would agree. But I think he actually plays a little bit differently. FP, by the way, unsurprisingly, has come in with a beautiful stat for us, because he always does, saying in the last 365 days, he's ranked in the 75th percentile for progressive carries. That is Ryan Gravenberch. Should we get his FBref report up? Give me 1 second, because I haven't got this set up. So let me just find it real quick. Who are we looking for? We're looking for Ryan Gravenberch, FBref report. Did Ten Hag say anything interesting in his thingy? Interview, press conference, whatever you want to call it. Alright guys, give me 1 second. I'm just loading this FBref report up so you guys can kind of go through this with me, so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Here we go. This is Ryan Gravenberch's FBref report. Now, basically what this does is it compares him to players in his position over the last 365 days. You want these bars to be green. The greener they are, the denser the bars, the better you are performing. If you're in the 99th percentile for a stat, that means you are kind of in that top 1% in Europe in the past year for that kind of thing. The lower it is, the worse it is. So you want high numbers here. Ten Hag never says anything about transfers. Very true. He was asked about the England women's team. Is anyone going to be watching that game on Sunday? I certainly will be. He might compliment Casemiro like he did with Edson Alvarez. I assume you're referencing Ryan Gravenberch. I agree with that. Let's get these adverts off my screen. You ain't paying me. Get out of here. Also asked about #11. Yeah, not surprised. Yeah, Johnny Evans. Yeah, I saw about that earlier. What site is this? This is fbref.com. fbref.com. You can see the name of it up here. It's a really good website. Do I support the return of Greenwood? No need to answer if I'm not comfortable. Yeah, it's a topic I'm going to avoid for now, but I appreciate the question. I think Gravenberch has hardly played for Bayern last year, so this graph might be a little bit misleading. Spot on, excellent comment. This is, as you can see up here, only based on 788 minutes. Can you guys see this very well, or is it too zoomed out? Do I need to zoom in a bit? Do I need to zoom in? Is that better? What if I move my head out the way? Is that going to help as well? Should I get out of the way? He was also asked about a waveform. Of course, I've done a video on that during the week. Let me know what you thought of that. It was slightly different to what I've done before. Does this look better for you guys? Is that better? So, what we need to consider is that this is Ryan Gravenberch in the past 365 days, but he's only played 788 minutes, which is not very much. And I think it's the reason he even wants to leave in the first place, because he just isn't playing football. 788 minutes is not enough. It's not good enough. Now, people are pointing out there's lots of green bars here. There is indeed. But FP saying his numbers at Ajax are even better. So let's take a look at his 2021-22 Eredivisie Scout report and see what we're getting for this. Wow. That's not bad, is it? That is very decent indeed. Should have known that FP would know about his numbers. These numbers are ridiculous. Yeah, we'll come on to them later. Let's go back to this season. This past season. If anyone's having any lag issues, let me know. Let me just check something. Hang on. Are we still good? I think we're good. Cool. Would I pick Gravenberch or Amrabat? Well, we'll discuss that shortly, alright? We'll discuss that in a bit. We'll talk about Gravenberch first, and then we'll come on to that. Is anyone having any lag issues? My laptop seems to be struggling. Everyone seems fine? So it's just me lagging. Stream is fine. Okay, happy days. Good, good, good. Someone saying, surprise, Ajax is a dominant team in a less competitive league. Of course, the numbers are better. Yeah, absolutely. But it's still interesting to look at, right? So, can Gravenberch, play as the deepest midfielder? No, he cannot, in my opinion. So let's go through some of his numbers from the past 365 days. You have to consider he's playing in a Bayern team which typically dominate the Bundesliga, although not as much last season. You've got to consider he was playing under a couple of different managers, of course, from Nagelsmann to Thomas Tuchel. There were changes at the football club, but also, you know, he's playing in a good team. He's playing less minutes than what you'd expect. So all of these things do need to be taken into consideration. But these are all numbers that I've looked at before. These ones are quite interesting in terms of the passing numbers. Passes completed, the 68th percentile, and passes attempted, the 65th percentile. Kind of suggesting he's not a high volume player. He's not a player which constantly drops deep into the midfield, is looking to dictate the play, dominate a game. Not really that sort of player. Which is why, in certain areas, I prefer Amrabat. Because he doesn't... Or Amrabat, controls the tempo of a game much more and passes sideways a lot to keep the ball ticking over, which is really important. Amrabat is metronomic in possession. I don't think Gravenberch is, which is a slight problem. You can see down the bottom here, though, his numbers in the final third are very good. Expected assists, key passes, passes into the penalty area, progressive passes, they're all good. We're not too worried about the stats, although the through balls is interesting. These are his shot creating actions in the final third. There should be a little description there for you. Gravenberch, a Mason Mount type of player. I would agree. He's that kind of sort of vibe. In the sense of like... Oh, hang on. I didn't mean to do that. In the sense of he's not a 6, but he's also not quite a 10. He's kind of an advanced 8. But yeah, as FP has pointed out there, 6'3", handy physical profile. Defensively, his numbers have improved a lot at Bayern as well. He's making much more tackles per game. His percentage of dribblers tackled is good. The volume isn't that high in terms of dribblers challenged, only in the 36th percentile, but the success rate is in the 86th percentile, suggesting he isn't someone which goes flying about into tackles, but when he does try to, he tends to be successful. One thing I would say is he doesn't seem to be the most intense player off the ball. What game was I watching? I was watching the game against Cologne at the end of last season, and also the game against... Who? There was someone else they played. It might have been... Who was it? I have no idea, and I've completely lost what I was trying to say. What was I saying? I have no idea. Give me a second. I remember, there was a game, whatever game it was I was watching, the ball kind of breaks in the middle of the park. Gravenberch doesn't really show any interest in winning the ball back. It's only a couple of yards away from him. And for me, with an intense midfielder, they go win that ball and you win possession. Gravenberch didn't look like he wanted to do that, which would be a slight concern. Now, actually, on that occasion, Bayern's defensive structure was good enough, so someone else won the ball back. So no one really pointing the finger at Gravenberch. Even the commentators didn't. But I didn't quite like it. I'd like to see a bit more. We need to see more of that. He needs to be more intense out of possession. In terms of on the ball, going back to that, we can see that he's a very good ball carrier. ranking in the 77th percentile for carries, total carrying distance, 78th percentile for progressive carrying distance. Successful take-ons, the 79th percentile, although his success rate isn't the greatest. I think he also needs to tidy up a little bit from a technical point of view. Technically, in general, he is very good, but I think at times his first touch needs to be a little bit better. He needs to receive the ball better. I think if he kind of polishes up really in that area, I think he could be a really good player. The problem is he quite what United need? I'm still not sure. In terms of, let's put United into a possession structure, right? So let's say the structure is, let's go for, I don't know what structure to go for here. Let's go for the one which we literally saw last weekend. Okay, so it's this sort of structure. Of course, the personnel was different, but this was the structure. Let's bring Gravenberch in. Realistically, the straightest swap is for him to come in for Mason Mount and play this area here. Is that what United need? Such a good player. He's one of my favourite young midfielders in the world. I've liked him for several years now, and a few years ago I made a comment that he'll be one of the best midfielders in the world one day. Is that still going to happen? I'm not sure. But I genuinely believe that he could be. But is he what United need? Now, what you've got to consider, and as someone has just pointed out in chat there, he is only 21 years old, which means that you can mould him in a little bit into what you want to. Because he's 6'3", very athletic. He's a very good ball carrier. He's a very good player in the final third. He's a decent passer of the football. Very confident. Carries the ball a little bit like Paul Pogba at times, with a bit less skill, but a similar sort of swagger into the way he plays. I think he's a really good player. I just don't know if he is the profile that United need. Is he intense enough out of possession? I'm not sure, but maybe he makes up for that with his size, long legs, allowing him to kind of poke a foot in to make a tackle. And Tony Bravo making a good point there. Ten Hag knows him, which could be handy. We've maybe seen a couple of players at United struggling to adapt, really, and buy into what Ten Hag wants to do. Gravenberch probably doesn't have that problem because he's already done it before. So maybe that's a positive of this move. Would I consider Pogba for 10 million? I don't think off the ball he works hard enough for a Ten Hag side. Ibrahim Sangare, that's who we need. Potentially. Probably not for me though. I don't think he's good enough on the ball. Not alongside Casemiro. Maybe instead of, but not alongside. Still salty at missing out on Kim Min-jae. Me too. Not only is he a beast at progressing the ball, but he's also a monster at box defending, just like Varane. Him alone would have solved a lot of problems. Yep, I completely agree. There was a reason I made a video saying why Ten Hag must sign Kim Min-jae, just for a week later him to go to Bayern. Codename saying Joey Veerman, a player I need to watch more of before I can really give an opinion. Yeah, Alex saying that Gravenberch was sought after before Munich signed him. Very true. He's a really highly rated young player. I'm just not sure he is what United need. Now, one thing I would say is that Ten Hag in build-up, the last season at Ajax, would often push Gravenberch further forward like this. Okay? Which would suggest he's probably not the right player. However, what we've seen at Bayern is that he's moving a little bit more like this. He's dropping a little bit deeper. Now, let's imagine Casemiro is Joshua Kimmich, dropping a little bit deeper. They're kind of going to a 2-4 shape. And Gravenberch has had more responsibility for dropping deep, dropping in to try and get the ball and play out from the back. Now, when he does this, he is like a good ball carrier, but he's also a good ball protector, which at times does give him an element of press resistance in these areas, which could be useful for United. We know that they need that. They lack that phase. We were talking earlier about the disconnect in the midfield. Gravenberch, since moving to Bayern, is a player which drops in a lot more. So maybe he could help United in that way. I'm kind of not fully sold on it. I'm not sure. I think he's a wonderful player, really good player, but I'm not sure he's what United need. Perhaps a loan move would be the best shout. Let me know what you think. What are your thoughts on Gravenberch? If we were to sign him, where do you think he plays? Does he get a lot of game time? Do you think he plays instead of Mason Mount, instead of Bruno Fernandes? Does he work next to Casemiro? Is he someone which pushes high? Is he someone which drops deep? Would you like it on a permanent transfer? Would you like it on a loan? Let me know what you think. Get in chat, let me know your thoughts. Also, while you're here, like the stream. Leave a like. How many likes are we on at the moment? I can't see. Someone let me know in chat. I don't think he'll play much if he comes, especially when Kobe is fit. This is the kind of like question mark I have over the move. The reason he wants to leave Bayern is because he's not playing enough football. I think if he comes to United, he might at times have a similar problem. I think he'd play a lot more than he did last year, but I don't know. I don't think he perfectly fits what United want. What does it leave you with? Is Gravenberch then the Mason Mount replacement? Christian Eriksen, as in like the backup, and Christian Eriksen is the backup to Bruno Fernandes, with Amrabat as backup to Casemiro, and then Kobe Mainu kind of that 7th option as the rotation choice, being the youngster, it's perfect for him. Could that work? Kobe Mainu, a lot of people are talking about in chat. Yes. Like, he's so good. I can't wait for Kobe Mainu to be back. It's important that he's not put under too much pressure, but I think he could be such a good player. Tony Bravo saying a loan would be ideal, and then Amrabat on a permanent. Ideally, we get both. Yeah, I like the idea of that. Why is Mount the priority? I just think the fact that United have spent 60, 50 odd million. I think probably he is going to play. Saw a different comment I want to reply to. Tommy Boyle saying he's also played with Anthony in reference to Gravenberch before. Be a good fit for us, I think. That's also true. He knows several of the players. He knows Lisandro Martinez. He knows Anthony. He's worked with Ten Hag. Could be useful. If Bruno is not playing as a 10, then we still have a problem. Yeah, I think he's still arguably a 10 in this position, just perhaps not in the traditional sense. He's more of a half-space player. I think it's best we go for Amrabat. Don't think the situation will change with Gravenberch, is what Jerry said. And I think I do agree with that. If United could get Amrabat and Gravenberch, which is unlikely, but if they could, that would be brilliant business. I think if you can only choose one, I would go for Amrabat. That is where I stand on it. That is kind of what I'm thinking. AJ, I have a feeling, but hear me out. In the future, I can see we actually sell Bruno and buy a hard-working centre mid. Then get in Frimpong to play how Liverpool playing. Flying fullbacks all the way. It's possible. Like I said earlier, I always prefer wide wingers because they're better in 1-versus-1 situations. But who knows? Who knows? I'm going to disappear again for 1 second because Hay Fever is about to win the battle again. It's about to be 11-0. Give me 1 second. I'm back. Grace Sheridan asking, if we build up in a back 3, is Maguire being 4th or 5th choice really that big of a deal? It's not, but at the same time it is because of how much he earns, for example. I also just think, like, for his mental health, why would you want to stay at a club where people just don't seem to like you? It's a bit odd. I want a DM and a second striker. Yeah, I think most people would probably agree with that, although I don't like the term DM, but yeah, I think people would agree. We need to solidify our midfield for transition, playing Graven alongside Casa with a 3-1 in front of them, give Bruno more freedom going forward. Interesting. Hi AJ, I think Dalot will be more useful beside Casemiro than Wan-Bissaka, and another think we are awful in negative transition. Yeah, I agree with both of those points. I think Dalot is the better option for me personally. But I think, yeah, we spoke about transitions already in the stream. It's terrible. If you missed that, by the way, we did do a good bit on it earlier, talking about this sort of thing. This whole stream will be available as a video on the channel afterwards, though, if you missed it. FP saying Licha expected to be fit for the Spurs game. Very handy. Very handy indeed. It's a shame he had to go off at half-time the other day. I don't think the book can help this case either, in terms of his case for staying on the pitch. The whole team needs to stop diving into tackle so much to allow transition defence. Who is better, Bruno Fernandes or Odegaard? I'll be honest, I don't like comparing players like directly to each other. Who's better than who, just because players are put into such different systems and things like that. But genuinely, I do believe Bruno Fernandes is up there with one of the very best players in the world. One of the best creative midfielders in the world, I should say. So I would probably go Bruno Fernandes, but it's difficult to compare players because, like I said, they play in different systems, so it's difficult to gauge it. Where do I see Sancho in a United team? Sancho was practically a second striker at Dortmund in a 3-4-2-1. I think his role at United is, for now, in the short term, is probably as a false nine. Erik ten Hag has said he wants him in the middle of the pitch, which is why I found it weird that he didn't play the other day. And also the fact that when he did come on, he came on the left wing. I found that really odd. Yeah, Bruno Fernandes, obviously an incredible creator. Alex saying he can't wait for tomorrow's game. Let's do that then, real quick. Prediction. Give me a score prediction for tomorrow. Manchester United against Wolves. I'm not very good at this, guys. I get paid to do this every day. Manchester United against Spurs. That's the one. Let me know your score predictions. FP first in saying 2-1 to United, which, if it means anything to you guys, is what I believe the score will be. I'm seeing 2-2. I'm seeing 1-0 United. I'm seeing 2-1 United. Clean sheet, please. Yes, please. 2-1 United from Sport Gang. It would be nice just to get a win away from home. Pardon me. Apologies. 3-0 United. 3-2 United. 3-1 to Spurs. Sorry, I love United, but I like the honesty. I think it'll be just like the Wolves game. 1-0 win, terrible performance. Would you take that? I'll offer you two things right now. Manchester United win 1-0, but the football is terrible. Or it finishes 2-2, so you only draw rather than getting the 3 points, but you play good football. So good football and draw, or bad football and win? What would you rather? Lots of predictions. I can take a slugfest. Yep. I would as well, personally. 3-1 United, 3-1. Rashford, Sancho and Anthony. I like that. Let me know some goal scorers. This is bold, but I say 3-0 to United. That high Spurs line will kill them. Has anyone watched my tactical preview from this morning? There's spaces in behind Spurs which you can hurt. In fact, let's go on to that. Let's talk about Spurs. Let me get these other players off the screen here. Keep coming in with your predictions. Let me know some scorelines. I'm seeing someone saying, I can take 1-0 and a bit of extra brain damage. 1-0 terrible football all day. 2-0 United. Hate to say it, 3-1 Spurs. Their new midfield under Postecoglou look good. Think we'll be overrun in midfield. Sorry, guys. Again, I love to see honest opinions. Even though you support United, it's great to see that you can still be honest and maybe think that other teams are going to win. Let me know some goal scorers. Would you say Spurs are better than us in possession as of right now? I missed their game against Brentford, but I know Postecoglou's teams are big on dominating possession. I don't think they are better than United as such in possession, because they're still quite chaotic. They have not the same problems as United, but they do have some similar problems in the sense that they try to get the ball forward a bit too quickly a lot of the time. Yeah, they're by no means perfect at Spurs. The possession football is nice, and it will go on to be good. I think they will have games this season where they are brilliant and blow teams away. I think they'll have games this season where they concede 3 or 4. Probably my bet for the most entertaining team in the league this season. Out of interest, now we've got the Spurs team in place. Does anyone have any news on Romero? He went off injured last week. Does anyone have any news? A couple of people talking about Basuma. Absolutely incredible last week. One of the players of the weekend. Really good. There's potential to counter-attack though, right? Because what Spurs want to do is Emerson Royale, if he plays, which I'd imagine he will, based on last week, and Udogie from left back, both inverting like this, really narrow. If United are going to be sitting deep, let's put United in a more standard shape like this. Let's say United are sitting really deep like this. There's a lot of room to counter-attack. There's a lot of room here. out wide. That's where you can hurt this team. Again, did anyone watch my video this morning on this? I just think there's so much room you can get here, especially when Sancho's going to drop. We know that Romero, which you guys are confirming he'll play, so thank you very much. It's good to see that he is well. He will draw Romero, because Romero is aggressive, and Van de Ven will look to do the same. It does leave room. Tony Bravo saying, concussion protocol is 6 days in the Premier League. I predict he misses it. Yeah, I think if he had concussion, I think he'll miss it. I don't know that it was ever confirmed that he had concussion, though. Spurs is the team that could concede 3 goals after 3 counterattacks when they play high line. Yeah, Spurs are really capable of controlling possession completely, but just conceding goals at the other end. Because what Brentford done was they used wing-backs. So Rico Henry, particularly at left wing-back, was just flying forward down this side of the pitch, up and down here, all afternoon long last Sunday, and was really good. Rashford's pace will destroy them. The Spurs defence is not good, and the goalkeeper is shaky. The only problem is their attack. Fair enough. Yeah, I think I'd agree with that to an extent. I was watching Man City versus Sevilla. City was so brave when passing through the lines. Yeah, City were a little bit sloppy at times compared to what we normally expect, especially someone like Rodri. But, yeah, they were still brilliant. Their midfield against Brentford was very good, and Poster Log in the Lou is a very good manager. I'm worried about Saturday. Yeah, they were good last week. Oh, my eyes are watering. Apologies, everybody. I think we will continue our title charge by winning 3-1. Imposter Coglu. How do you guys have slander names for him already? Our away form will continue. I hope not, but we'll see. I don't know why, but I'm more scared of Spurs after they lost Kane. Their players probably feel like they have a point to prove in front of their home crowd, so I'm expecting them to be intense in duels. United have got to be way more up for this game than what they were last week. Win a battle. You've got to win a battle in the middle of the park. Now, that'll be helped by the spacing being better. Again, like we were speaking about earlier. Get players closer to each other, then you can win your battles a bit easier. But that's going to be a big part of it. It's a big part of any game. You can talk about tactical setup, you can talk about individual quality, etc. But you've got to win some battles. Be honest, did you really think United could play better possession? This team has always been a counter-attacking team. I think it's a slow transition. I think last season it was very transitional. I think this season we'll hopefully see a mix between the two. A bit more possession-based football, hopefully. But then also, there will still be a lot of transitions. Yeah, I think it's a transitional period at the moment. Do I genuinely believe Ten Hag can win us the Premier League title? Yeah. You got to believe, right? There's not much point if you don't. Last season against Spurs was the best example. I assume you're talking about kind of being good in possession. I completely agree. That was a really good game. I was watching it back the other day. I watched to do the away video the other day. I watched both the Spurs games from last season, and that home performance was really good. Sancho was brave against Wolves. We need that all-round, braver passing. What Sancho does really well is he's brave with his passing at times, but he's also really intelligent with when to release it. He doesn't just kind of play forward for the sake of it. He is intelligent in the way that he does it, and I think that's the important thing with Sancho, and that's what players could take from that. FP saying Dallo was playing that game. Surprise, surprise. If I speak, I'm in trouble. Man United still can possess the ball better than Spurs, but we're arguably world-class in transitional attacks. That's a fair point. What will happen if they don't press us and play narrow, deep block? Okay, Spurs will press in a 4-4-2. Once their press is beaten, they retreat into a 4-4-2 meter block. I was speaking about this morning in my video. What Spurs look to do when they kind of, like I said, when their press is beaten and they kind of retreat a little bit, they go into a 4-4-2. And what we saw in pre-season was that the wingers were asked to play really quite narrow positions like this. So the question that United need to solve in this game is how to break it down. Now, I offered a few suggestions this morning in my video. And the shape I went for, as we've spoken about already today, was a 3-2 like this, with the box in midfield. But we spoke about a few different things. We spoke about the importance and the need to get the ball wide. I think United actually done that well last week, but were poor once they got the ball. Garnacho, for example, got the ball a lot, but was really poor with it. Hopefully, we see individual better performances this week. If that is the case, then that will help a lot. It really will. It will really help United's ability to break down this team. Because, like I said, I think Spurs will play with quite narrow wingers defensively. It allows you to quite easily cycle this ball forward. So, there's potential to get the ball forward there. The other option, though, which I've been speaking about, is maybe getting Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount, of course, in the right moment, in situational circumstances, move a little bit wider to see if you can open up a little bit of space for Jadon Sancho to come into here. See if you can create that overload and kind of get on the half turn. I think that could be a good way to hurt them. Will United win a trophy this season? I hope so. I really hope so. Do you think passive mid-blocks are United's kryptonite? Yeah, I think it's certainly up there. I think we saw it from Wolves last weekend. We need to properly judge this team, though, once they get going. No choice for Ten Hag. As said by Ralph Rangnick, we need open heart surgery. It took Klopp and Pep 2 to 3 seasons. Very true. Very true. Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. Manchester United will not be rebuilt in one season. It will take time, and quite a lot of it. I love this from MUFC Eric Ten Hag saying, Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup is all ours. How about the Carabao Cup? He's always optimistic, though. I like it. Deadshot saying, I think Mason Mount will be fantastic against Spurs. I certainly hope so. I think for him to do that, he needs to be a bit more mobile when he doesn't have the ball. When someone deeper has got the ball, he needs to be a bit more aware of dropping in to receive it. Kind of connect the two phases. Hopefully, as well, that stops Casemiro going forward like an absolute nutcase. Hope he scores. If you could pick one player to score for United this weekend, who would you go for? Ten Hag not signing a volume passing central midfielder is also criminal. Would you agree? Yeah. But hopefully it happens with Amrabat. Someone saying Rashford. Sancho and Rashford. Rashford. I hope Mount scored. Heard Udogie was brilliant last game. Will be interesting to see him up against Anthony. Yeah, I think Anthony might struggle for spare change in this game. I don't think he's going to get too much out of him here. Apologies, I'm just kind of being spammed at the moment on my phone. Hang on 1 second. Again, Hay Fever is about to win. I'll be right back. Yeah, several people saying about Mount needing a goal. I don't think he needs it, I'll be honest. I think as long as he's kind of blocking out the stupidity of a lot of people, he's probably fine. He probably doesn't need it. Like I said, he's played 70 minutes of competitive football in 6 months. It would be nice for him to get his first goal, though. I think it would be good for him. Sancho is another one who it's always good to see him getting started. Rashford is always good to see him kind of open the floodgates and hopefully kind of set himself up for a good season. F saying, I'm surprised nobody said Bruno to score yet. Very true. Haven't seen anyone saying Bruno Fernandes. What are my opinions on Rico Henry? He was brilliant against Spurs last week. Yeah, he's a really good player. And he was one who, in this game, really took advantage of the space down this side of the pitch. I heard something about a behind doors game against Everton that was played on Tuesday where Martial played. That is true. I believe the game was 2-0 with an own goal and Scott McTominay scoring. And yeah, Martial played that game. So hopefully he's closer to getting fit. Like I said, he won't be able to start yet because we've seen already with this first team, which we've got on screen here, they played loads of preseason, but weren't ready for the Premier League because of how intense it is. So it'll be the same for Martial. He'll need a bit of time. Who do I think will be United's top scorer this season? Probably Rashford. It's got to be Rashford, I think. FP asking, who do I think fits the inverted fullback role from other clubs? Let me just think. Let me have a think. I think Rico Lewis at Manchester City definitely does. Cancelo, for example, is he still a Premier League player? I think he does. I think who else? Let's go to Arsenal. I think Zinchenko can. I think Timber maybe can. I'm still not fully sold on it, but I think he could. Such a disappointment for him to pick up that injury. At Spurs, I think Emerson Royal showed a really good example of it last week. Pedro Porro is another one. At Chelsea, Lewis Hall, although he's now a Newcastle player. I think he could do an inverted fullback role. Alexander Arnold, maybe. I'm still not convinced on it, but maybe. I think he needs to get better at receiving the ball, working with his body positioning. The way he opens up his hips to receive the pass needs to be better. Emerson seems ready this season. Yeah, he was really good last week. Really good. I still think United can expose down that side, though. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, sorry, FP. I was just going through Premier League teams there. Yeah, Vanderson, Bar, Mazraoui, Fresneda can certainly all play inverted. Keep a real eye on Fresneda. He's such a good young player, and F said it there. I cannot believe no one signed him yet. He's pretty tall. He's like 5'10" plus. I'm not exactly. It's sometimes difficult to tell the height, and when you Google it, you get loads of different answers. He's just under 6 foot. He's really good defensively. I've seen him play well, for example, against Vinicius Jr. He's really good defensively, good reading of the game. Not the quickest player in the world, but still pretty good. Very good upper body strength. Very strong player, kind of capable of going shoulder to shoulder, knocking a player over. But on the ball, real, genuine press resistance. An ability to invert into midfield, play from there, overlap out wide. Remember Fresneda. He is one which I will be covering on the channel. I said early in the summer that he should have gone to Arsenal. He is one where, if I'm Manchester United, keep your eye on him. If he doesn't move this summer, keep an eye next summer. Because he's the one at the moment where I'm really tempted by him, and I really like the look of him. Vanderson is another shout, though. I like a lot of Vanderson. Does that make sense? I like Vanderson a lot. There we go. Mazraoui, when did he learn to dribble and pass like that? Yeah, Mazraoui is unbelievable, by the way. He's so underrated. He's one of the best fullbacks in the world. One of the most versatile fullbacks in the world. I think he could genuinely play not only as an inverted fullback, but actually just straight up a midfielder. But he can also overlap. He's great on the underlap. Mazraoui is great. What did I think of Disasi in the Chelsea game? I can't remember too much about his specific performance. He got kind of caught out at the far post a little bit at times, but I thought for a debut he was pretty good, grew into the game well. He's a good player. Camavinga, yeah, is another brilliant example. Is he even an inverted fullback, though? He's just anything he wants to be. Yeah, Mazraoui is quite injury prone, which is, for me, the one downside of his game. Also, maybe defensively a little bit as well. But yeah, his injury prone nature is such a disappointment because he could be so special if not. Do I think Frimpong can invert? No, I don't think so. He wants to fly forward really on the overlap. He's not actually the best tight space dribbler. 1v1, he's almost winger-esque. But tight situations in the middle of the park, not so much. I know you'd rather play Sancho at false 9, but I see Ten Hag putting Rashford at centre forward. He might well do. Like you said there, my preference is definitely Sancho, kind of up front in that false 9 position. But I would not be surprised to see Rashford there either. Hopefully it's Sancho. But there is also the advantage in this game of going Rashford and Garnacho. You get more runners. So let's say in transition, which will be a big part of this game, Anthony at times coming a little bit deeper, and then Bruno Fernandes running past him, Rashford running past him, and also Garnacho, that could work. Frimpong and Dumfries are flying fullbacks, but Ten Hag wants them, indicating we are moving more towards a Liverpool playstyle. Possibly. like I said, I'm never too keen on that. I just think if you are trying to break down a low block and you go winger in this position versus a fullback in this position, who's better at dribbling? It's 9 times out of 10 it's the winger. F saying a bit random, but have you ever watched Andre from Fluminense? These tactical accounts keep bringing him up. Such a good player. Really good player. Like him a lot. I was talking about him probably in February time, I think it was. Done a couple of videos on him, so there is a video on the channel if you want to go check it out. Really good. Kind of a small, diminutive figure. Really press resistant. Really good at carrying the ball forward. Good passer of the ball as well. Really a high volume passer. Quite safe on the ball at times. He could add a bit of progression to his game, but he's a very good player. Tenacious out of possession. Great player. What are my thoughts on Diogo? I assume you mean Dalot. I've always been unsure on Dalot. It's one of those ones, but just got to wait and see. He needs to cement a starting place in his team to really judge him. Really want United to sign Barella. That would be an interesting one, but obviously it means that one of Mount or Fernandes are dropping out of the team. Thoughts on that Endo guy Liverpool signed? Caught me off guard. I don't know anything about him. Truthfully, he looked good at the World Cup. I'll say that much, but I don't know much about him. Andre could have made... The problem with Andre as a Fabinho replacement for Liverpool would be the lack of physicality, the lack of size. There's a lot of big players in the Premier League at the moment, a lot of physicality. We saw it against Wolves last weekend. I'm not sure an Andre, Szoboszlai, McAllister midfield deals with that well enough. United won't improve until they work on their out of possession. They are too reactive and not proactive, flat-footed and not on their toes, and they jump in too much when unnecessary. Massive red flag coaching-wise. I do agree. As much I love Ten Hag, big fan of Ten Hag, and I've got loads of time for him. I'm happy to give him chances at United, but he does need to start making some different improvements to this team. Absolutely. Now the window is about to end. What's next positions we need to upgrade? Let's say we get Amrabat this summer. It leaves you, for me, needing another striker still. A top right back. A centre back. And then maybe a right winger, depending on how Anthony develops. If not, another midfielder would kind of be my thought process. If we only sign Amrabat between now and the end of the window. Inzaghi has just said something about Pavard, so I just want to see what this is. He said, yes, Benjamin Pavard is part of our target list, not the only player. Interesting. Matheus Nunes from Wolves is a profile United lacked in the midfield. Could see him being really useful in specific games, and he could really develop his game at United. Nunes is a great player. I was talking about him 18 months ago as a player that United should sign. Before he went to Wolves, before people were talking about him, I done a video. I think it was like 4 players United could sign to replace Paul Pogba. And it was like an expensive option, a cheap option, a young option, and an unknown option. Matheus Nunes was the unknown option. So good. Such a good play. He's incredible. I always think Shaw as a flying fullback, although he was capable playing more inverted, but he was at his best in overlapping. That's why rotations are important. Because he is so good at getting forward. I don't like him too much in these areas. I think he can do it in moments, but not all the time. But rotating there is good. Evan Ferguson, he's a good shout. The problem is when you sign Rasmus Højlund for as much as United did, if you sign another big young striker, one of them isn't going to develop how you want to because you've got someone in the way. Do you think we should have signed Sabitzer? Not for me. We need Wan-Bissaka forward because he gets targeted by the press. Maybe swap Fernandes and Casemiro and put Anthony in half space. And Wan-Bissaka holding the width. Pardon me, I do apologise. Hopefully we don't miss... Sorry, I just read that message. Ten Hag should make Man United run 13.4 kilometres every time they deliver a Wolves performance. They'll be very tired by the end of the season because those aren't complete anomalies. It was uncharacteristically bad, but we have seen them before, which is a little bit worrying. The profiles we've signed this window are optimal, and an issue I have is that last summer we signed subpar profiles, and I don't believe we'll rectify that. What's your thoughts? So you're saying this year the signing profile-wise have been optimal but weren't last year? Yeah, I can get behind that. I think Lisandro Martinez was probably the most optimal one, although even still not being the biggest isn't ideal. Anthony is a case of maybe we wait and see. Casemiro, yeah, I see your point. I think this summer is a better summer for sure. If United get a couple more in. A couple more. Yeah, that's the problem with Evan Ferguson as well. If you thought Rasmus Højlund was expensive, wait until you see what they do with Evan Ferguson probably next summer. He will cost money. He will be so expensive, it's unbelievable. I need another drink, so let me know any other questions you have in chat. If not, I think we are kind of just about wrapping up the stream here. Just give me 1 second and I'll be back. I'm back. If you have watched Brentford last week, have you noticed any specific weaknesses that our team could exploit? Nothing that we haven't spoken about already, really. Especially in my preview this morning, I kind of covered the main points. Trying to think if there's anything else. So there's the fact that the fullbacks really invert, leaving space out wide. That's definitely a weakness on the counter-attack. The fact that their centre-backs can be overly aggressive. So if someone like Jadon Sancho can drop in, it creates room for runners, whether that be from out wide in Rashford, or maybe Mason Mount is more the one to watch out for in that aspect. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in particular. I mean, when they press high, they can be caught out as well. At times, their high press is really good. But at times, if you can get past that first line, you're then done, like they're done for, because once you get past that first line, you can hurt them and get at that defense. So that's probably another thing to maybe look out for when they're pushing like super high, trying to apply pressure to the ball. You might be able to catch them there. Apart from that, I wouldn't say there's any other massive weaknesses which I've picked up on just yet, simply because it's obviously early in the Postecoglou era. Brighton already put an £110 million on Ferguson. Yeah, there you go. And it probably goes up next year. It's crazy. He'll cost so much, it's unreal. Is Pedro Porro injured? I don't think so. I think the manager just seems to prefer Emerson Royale at the moment, which has caught me off guard a little bit. Lisandro is definitely a good signing, and I rate him highly, but even he has some issues, such as channel defending, which is why I think we're hesitant to push up fullbacks in the press. However, I'm a big fan of him. I think you're absolutely spot on with that. I think you're spot on. Perfect summary. I think it's the same with Rafael Varane, right? Ten Hag is worried about his ability to defend wide, which is why he sometimes doesn't connect the fullback. But if you aren't going to connect the fullback, just don't press. Like I said it the other day, you've either got to go for it and really press, connect the fullback, or drop off. Doing this in-between thing just leaves you so open. We've been going for over 2 hours now, and the whole time there's been about 100 people, if not more, in the stream, which is incredible. So thank you very much. We are going to wrap up in a second, though, because, I'll be honest, hay fever is hurting me right now. My nose is running, my eyes are running, I can't help it. So we are going to wrap up in a second. F saying that half press really hurts us so much. Yeah, massively. Massively. Like I said, you kind of get caught doing this silly little in-between job where you're not putting enough pressure on the ball, but you're also not dropping back and covering space. You just end up in no man's land and get hurt for it. What I mean, by the way, by not connecting the fullback, just to quickly go over it before we finish, is that when the other team's playing out from the back, Sancho's doing this, forcing them one way, but you've got Rashford's responsible in between two players here, and Anthony does the same on the other side like this. Now, as the ball goes backwards, Anthony gets drawn out, and it leaves the fullback free, which means if you've got a good passing goalkeeper, which most teams do these days, you can just play over it like that. Now, if you connect your fullback, you would have your fullback here ready to pounce and press, and it kind of takes that passing option out of the game. But United don't do that. United don't connect their fullback, so instead the player just receives it and can play out. Ali with another donation of $4.99. Thank you very much. Saying, had to start my shift. We'll catch you in the next stream. You guys are all legends. Thank you, AJ, for all your hard work. Best community ever. Thank you again so much for the donation. If everyone could say thank you in the chat, that would be greatly appreciated. Hope you have a good day at work. Ali, my friend, I know it's nice and early in the morning for you, so I hope you have a good day. Enjoy the United game at the weekend. Hopefully, I can talk to you about a win next time. Another good win. So, yeah, enjoy your day, mate. Thank you very much for the donation. Appreciate you as always. Someone saying, in the long term, I can see United playing Lissandro Martinez in a left-back inverted role. I like the idea of that. I do like the idea of that. F saying, good stream. This is the first one I've watched. Are you planning any more in the near future? Every Friday at the moment is the plan. Yeah, Ali is an absolute legend. Absolute legend. I will see you hopefully next week for the stream, mate. If not, make sure to watch the videos. Yeah, from now on, I should be streaming every Friday. In future weeks, we will also be talking about FPL as well, but I haven't got time today. So make sure to check that out as well. Join the mini league if you want a chance at winning some pretty tasty prizes. Make sure to join in there. In terms of today's stream, though, like I said, allergies and hay fever is getting the better of me. So for today, we are going to wrap it up there. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. Thank you to anyone who has just tuned in, anyone who's put a comment in chat. Ali for the donations, absolute legend, absolute hero of the channel. But yeah, anyone who's liked it, anyone who has subscribed. If you haven't already, before you leave, like the stream and subscribe to the channel, and also tell your friends about the channel. We're trying to grow the channel as much as possible. We want 20k by the end of the year. But yeah, we've been live for 2 hours and 20 minutes now. So it's time to wrap up. Thank you guys very much. I hope you have enjoyed the stream. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.